Cocoa Kisses and Mountain Misses, the Coffee Loft series Mountain Brew Collection. Written by Kimberly Montpetit. Narrated by Cassie Rowland. Chapter 1. Lily. Lily Wilder tightened the strings of her Coffee Loft apron and put a big smile on her face for her next customer, Mrs. Clara Morton, who was right on time. 1 hour after the elderly woman ate lunch at her own kitchen table, she went out for an afternoon of shopping and errands and grabbed a drink and pastry for her afternoon break at the Snow Valley Coffee Loft. "Your usual mocha latte and a cinnamon donut?" Lily asked. "You know me so well, Miss Lily," Mrs. Morton said in her wavery voice. "My granddaughter is picking me up, and I finished my hair appointment early, so I thought I'd sneak in here for my hour of decadence before my cute Olivia arrives and scolds me. After all, she's late." Lily laughed. "A tardy ride home means you deserve the luxury of self-indulgence." "Then I'll take 2. Mrs. Morton said, pointing to the sugar and cinnamon pastry and the cream-filled chocolate glazed. "I think we're just alike, Mrs. Morton. Self-control goes out the window when it comes to any kind of donut, and a fresh batch finished just an hour ago. Still warm and heavenly." When Lily handed over the woman's donuts on a doily-covered plate, Mrs. Morton asked, "Did that adorable apron come with the job, or did you make it?" "I designed and sewed it myself," Lily admitted. Mrs. Morton leaned closer, eyeing the pattern of steaming coffee mugs and cocoa mugs swirling with marshmallows. When Lily became the manager of the shop, she had fun sewing herself an apron to celebrate. A smattering of maple pecan donuts and other yummy pastries completed the apron's design with the store's name right smack in the middle. Coffee Loft, Snow Valley, Montana. Lily's apron received lots of compliments from the hungry and thirsty Snow Valley citizens. Morning, noon, and evening, the compliments flowed for the various flavored lattes, hot cocoa, sodas, and lemonades, and donuts. At the moment, Lily was understaffed. Her assistant left for the winter semester at Montana State University in Bozeman to finish her degree in mechanical engineering, after vowing to become a heart surgeon. The heart surgeon idea got nixed when Allison fainted at the sight of blood. Upon learning that unfortunate fact, engineering became her passion in less than 3 minutes flat. Lily never knew fainting at a simple blood draw was an actual thing until the day she offered to drive Allison to her blood work appointment, when her friend's car broke down and was stuck at the garage for repairs. Well, to be fair, Allison didn't actually go unconscious, but when she saw the array of blood vials and the needle, she never made it to the chair. Her knees wobbled, her face turned white as a sheet of paper, and she sank right to the floor. The nurse and Lily helped Allison to a chair, had her recline back, and waited until color had come back into her face before trying to draw her blood. "Don't look," Lily ordered when the nurse tightened the elastic band around her upper arm. Allison grabbed her hands in a death grip, and Lily forced her friend to stare into her eyes. Thankfully, it was over in less than 30 seconds. Afterward, they ate giant juicy burgers at Big C's on Main Street, dripping with sizzling juice and melted cheese, with a side of thick seasoned fries. The mouth-watering burgers, along with an ice-cold Dr. Pepper and unlimited refills, did the trick. Allison forgot her needle trauma when she fell into a food coma. A catch tickled Lily's throat. She missed Allison, along with their antics and fun. Her right-hand helper was gone until the summer, but it was only another 4 months. Thankfully, the area management lined up another employee from Billings who wanted to spend the winter months with her sister, who lived in Snow Valley. A woman named Angie would be arriving soon to fill in for Allison and give Lily a break since she had been working extra shifts for the past month. Meanwhile, Lily had their new January promo that livened up each day ready to run, which had begun right after the new year. A YouTube video had caught her eye from a Coffee Loft franchise in New Orleans. The promo offered a free cup of coffee if the customer walked through the door performing dance moves. The promotion was an instant hit. It was a good thing Lily decided to limit the dancing customers to 1 cup a day because the entire town stormed the shop on the first day. She ran out of coffee and had to make an emergency run into Bozeman that evening. Snow Valley's amateur dancers sure kept a barista entertained. 2 hours ago, the last dancing customers had been a retired couple from a ranch outside of town who came in doing a two-step, country music playing on their cell phone. The customers cheered and whistled as the older couple danced all the way up to the counter. At the end of the dance, the gentleman leaned in to smack a kiss on the lips of his bride of 50 years. Now, Lily mopped up a spill from the mocha machine and rinsed out the wash rag in the sink. Behind her, the jangling bell on the door rang. Rock and roll music blared, and she whirled to see who the next dancer was. Her jaw dropped, unable to believe her eyes. The rock music as a background against the sight of a big, burly logger from up the mountain was so incongruent, tears of laughter pricked her eyes. The logger towered at 6 feet 4 inches, bulky with muscles that bulged from his red flannel shirt. Worn, loose jeans tied with a rope for a belt, and big boots sporting a whole lot of mud on his feet completed the picture. Those heavy boots spun on the floor as he danced a jig, completely at odds with the sound of hard rock drums. The guy had the entire room clapping along with the beat, hooting and hollering as the logger put on a show, dancing around each table. When he reached the counter, the burly guy performed a double step to the right and then to the left, followed by a hip shimmy and ending with a dramatic curtsy. The customers rose for a standing ovation, clapping in appreciation while the man made a final bow. Clicking off the loud music on his phone, he leaned on the counter and stared at Lily, a big brazen grin on his face. "You're gonna pop some buttons off that fine flannel shirt, Mr. Lily's voice trailed off while she stuck a hand on her hip in a coy manner. "That's Mr. Logger to you, ma'am." "Is that so, Mr. Aiden Quinn?" "Ah, you recognized me," he said, his lips twitching. "You're a hard one to miss, and that's a fact." "I thought playing Van Halen would throw you off." The next moment, the Coffee Loft customers began to chant, "Encore! Encore!" "I think you have a few fans, Mr. Quinn," Lily told him. "Ah, you guys drive a hard bargain," the logger called out to the customers. A teenager who'd been making moon eyes with his girlfriend in the corner began to blast the music of Queen, and the logger spun around like a clunky ballerina. He moved his hips, imitating a belly dancer, then danced toward the teenagers to give them a personal show. The boy was holding his stomach and laughing, while the girl hid her face behind her hands, swatting a hand at her boyfriend. After his second bow, the logger moved to the cash register, leaning his arms on the counter to gaze at Lily. "That's 2 dances. Do I get 2 drinks?" "Nope," she said, trying not to laugh. "1 drink deal." "I gotta get something for dancing in these boots, Miss Coffee Loft girl. How about you sit with me while I eat my donut and drink my hot cocoa? With marshmallows, of course." "Of course," Lily quipped. "But I'm all out of the giant squishy marshmallows, so you'll have to content yourself with the tiny mini ones." "Is that supposed to stop me?" he teased. "I'll take any size marshmallow. As long as I have you for company, I'm a happy man." "A dirty logger dude is more like it." His chocolate brown eyes twinkled. "Do I need a shower before I come in as a patron?" "Nope, we serve all kinds of hooligans and reprobates at this establishment." "You are a hard woman, Lily Wilder." "What can I say? Snow Valley's a tough town." That elicited a whoop of laughter. "Oh, tough as a sugar cookie, maybe?" "With sprinkles and frosting," she added. Now go sit yourself down in the far corner and I'll bring you a drink and a donut.
Make that 2. I'm starving.
You're always starving, like a kid.
A working man needs 6 meals a day. How about getting a meal with me when your shift is up?
Let me check my busy social schedule, Lily said demurely, smothering the grin on her lips.
I'll even shower for you.
She shook her head as if he were a feisty toddler. You're such a thoughtful date, Mr. Quinn. When she sat down at the table across from him, Aiden placed his elbows on the table, his deep brown eyes roaming over every one of her features, finally settling on her lips.
I aim to please the women I adore.
Lily turned her head to glance around the coffee shop, then stared daggers at him, blinking her eyes. You're telling me there's another woman I have to compete with? His laugh was deep.
Nobody can compete with my Lily.
She lifted one eyebrow and quirked her lips. Now I belong to you? Aiden brushed a finger over the back of her hand as she set down her own mug of steaming chocolate.
That's my goal, and all your attempts to wave away my affection aren't working.
That's nice to hear. Now, finish your drink and let me get back to work. Or did you already finish winterizing your machinery up on the mountain?
Close. I hoped you'd come up and we could have a snow day. And a picnic.
A picnic? It's got to be 5 degrees up there. I'll turn into an icicle the moment I take a bite of my PB&J.
I promise to serve you more than a peanut butter sandwich. Maybe 2 PB&Js.
Big-time spender, huh? He lowered his voice.
My cabin is pretty good at taking off the chill if you give it a chance. The snow is for playing, the couch is for dining in front of the fire, among other things.
Lily batted her eyelashes. Pray tell, Mr. Mountain Man, she said in a British accent, what are those other things you allude to so slyly? His laugh was deep and throaty, a sound that Lily loved.
Nothing inappropriate, but you do have to admit that snuggling is even better than a blazing fire for warming up my girl.
Lily cupped her palms around her steaming mug and gazed at Aiden with a quirk of her lips. My girl? Does that mean what I think it means? Aiden's voice grew quieter.
I hope so.
Instead of commenting on his choice of words further, Lily glanced at the old-fashioned wooden clock on the wall. I get off in 30 minutes. Stick around if you'd like.
I ain't going anywhere, Miss Lily Wilder. Remember, we have plans tonight.
She gave him a sideways look. I haven't forgotten. I also came to work this morning prepared.
Now you're talking,
he teased in return. Chapter 2. Aiden. While Lily finished up the final shift of the day and was in the process of cleaning the store and locking up, Aiden Quinn checked the oil in his Hummer in the parking lot. Then he opened the door to rub the ears of Bullet, his German shepherd, waiting patiently in the vehicle's cab. Bullet had been with him since he was an 8-week-old puppy in Helena, born from the litter of one of his best buddies from his past Navy days. Aiden had done 10 years in the service, reaching Petty Officer 3rd Class, E-4, as a gunner, then took over his father's logging operation when he passed away unexpectedly from a heart attack. Aiden had saved much of his Navy pay and built a cabin up at the logging camp. Great for camping, hunting, snowmobiling, and skiing at the nearby slopes. After watching his new dog for a few weeks and trying out various names like Ranger and Apollo, the German Shepherd became a definite Bullet, the perfect name for the dog's talent of speed. In an instant, Bullet could reach over 30 miles an hour without breaking a sweat. Or a paw. A speeding bullet of muscle and thick fur, the German Shepherd astonished him, taking off like a shot whenever he spotted a bobcat in the woods or a rabbit attempting to slink past their campsite. Every single time. Aiden slammed the hood of the Hummer closed just as Lily appeared. While she locked up the doors of the coffee shop, he couldn't stop himself from staring at her thick blonde locks, tumbling in waves along her shoulders and falling down her back. Her figure was lithe but not skinny, womanly curves on every part of her, from her waist and hips all the way down her leggings. Subconsciously, Aiden's hand went into the deep pocket of his heavy winter coat. His fingers wrapped around the small package inside. He thought he'd left it at home in a safer spot. Quickly, he shoved the bag into his toolbox in the back seat, then slammed the door. Hurrying to the passenger side, he opened the door for Lily and gave her his hand to grab as she climbed into the tall SUV. "Even your tires are bigger than I am," Lily quipped.
Yep, the perfect tires for climbing mountain roads. But I think you're even more perfect,
he added softly. Lily made a growling noise in her throat and shook her head at him. "You are too much, Mr. Quinn. I'm only a barista who eats too many donuts."
Can't tell a bit. You look mighty fine to me.
"Ditto," she said, giving a little laugh as he shut the door after her, then jumped into the driver's seat. "I think climbing in and out of this monstrous Hummer of yours keeps me in shape," Lily added. She shoved her hands into her coat pockets as the sun lowered in the sky, shivering from the sudden drop in temperature as the late afternoon turned dusky. Of course, it was late January, and Montana was always freezing, from late October until May or even early June.
"Hey, I can keep your hands warm," Aiden said. "At least one of them."
"You focus on the road and keep your hands on the wheel, Mr. Quinn. Snow always makes me nervous."
"Haven't had a snowfall in a week. Roads are clear."
She gave him a sideways look. "But temps are dropping fast. Icy roads are the worst."
"I only have a few thousand miles on these roads up to the logging camp."
"I know you're a safe driver. I'm just a nervous Nellie, as my grandma used to say." In the back seat, Bullet gave a short bark. "Hey, Bullet," Lily said, twisting in her seat to rub the German Shepherd behind his ears. "Wow, how do you stay so warm and soft all the time? Tell me your secret, sweet pup. I always have cold hands."
"I'll warm them up for you,"
Aiden said, reaching for her fingers and clasping them inside his large palm. Lily glanced at him with a wicked smile. "You drive, Mr. Quinn. I'll let Bullet warm me up."
"Lucky dog,"
Aiden growled. "You sound just like your dog."
"They say that pets and owners start looking alike after a while."
"Well, that might be a good thing for you," Lily told him. "German Shepherds have always been my favorite breed of dog. They call dogs man's best friend, but actually I think they are a woman's best friend."
"I thought I was your best friend,"
Aiden teased. "You are," Lily said, reaching over to slide her hand down his arm. Her gesture was a teasing one because she knew he couldn't resist her. "Is this too distracting?" she murmured. "Sorry, I don't need much of an excuse to feel those astonishing muscles of yours. Mind-boggling muscles, actually."
"Mind-boggling?"
Aiden laughed. His tone was deep and sexy.
"No one has ever said that before."
"Well, hopefully I'm the only woman that does. Your physique is fairly imposing. First time I saw you, I would have been scared if you hadn't made me laugh so hard."
"Well, then I'm glad I made you laugh." "Hey, look at that sunset, Lily,"
he said quietly. The orange and yellow streaks were like a rainbow of color up on the mountain.
"Those endless pines are the perfect backdrop to God's paintbrush."
"Gorgeous," she whispered. Aiden sighed contentedly. Logging was in his blood and had been in his family for 4 generations. I don't know how you have any energy after working up here all day. You work all year in every kind of weather, blazing heat, dangerous blizzards, and yet you always find time to drive into town to take me to dinner or a movie on the weekend.
Working hard gives me motivation so I can be with you, my darling.
The road narrowed, then turned to frozen dirt and mud. Piles of snow practically formed a tunnel. Aiden took his speed down as the forest grew thicker and denser. Wow, the sun is going down fast, Lily said. All at once, it's dark and shadowy.
Have you ever been here at my cabin in the evening before?
Nope, never invited me until now. This is my first time up here. Aiden chuckled.
I know that's not true. I've invited many a time. You just never agreed before today, but I'll take it. And here we are. Home sweet home.
What's for dinner, Mr. Aiden? Lily asked as he parked the big truck behind the cabin and turned off the engine.
You know what a connoisseur I am. With the excellent training I received from Chef Gordon Ramsay in Las Vegas, I couldn't decide between PB&J's or mac and cheese.
Lily laughed. Gordon Ramsay, huh? Since he's a world-renowned chef, I'll take both options. The peanut butter sandwich and the macaroni and cheese. I'm starving. A donut doesn't last all day no matter how yummy they are.
Kidding. I already ate the leftover mac and cheese and all the bread and jam my mother brought up a month ago.
Well, shucks. There goes the best dinner ever.
Do I detect a tone of sarcasm, my girl?
Who, me? Of course not. But you do know I'm not a picky eater. Except when it comes to donuts. The bigger and fancier the better. Give me the sprinkles, the chunks of chocolate, the whipped cream fillings, the pecans. I want it all.
You do have a sweet tooth, but I can't say I blame you because mine is ferocious, he added. For tonight, I finally settled on grilling steaks. I even bought some Texas toast with cheese and garlic. Would you mind whipping up some greens? Salads discombobulate me.
Now you're talking. Me and salads go way back. After turning off the engine, Aiden jumped out of the cab and came around to open the side door for Lily and Bullet. Wow, you're fast, she said. I barely unsnapped my seatbelt. He held her hand as she gave a little jump off the step to the ground. Bullet quickly followed, barking as he ran around the vehicle and then the porch as if checking that all was clear. Aiden wrapped an arm around Lily's shoulder and she leaned closer. He dropped a kiss on top of her hair while they gazed across the endless mountain rims. Aiden never tired of the spectacular view. Up on the mountain, daylight dwindled faster than down in Snow Valley, even though it wasn't that late in the afternoon. Winter was a different ball of wax, as his mother liked to say.
Come this way, Aiden said next. You'll want to see this.
As they started walking, Bullet ran past them to play in the snow. Still holding Lily's hand tight in his, Aiden led her around the open veranda porch to the front of the cabin that had the best view. The sun was close to the horizon, a ball of orange fire. Next to him, Lily let out a breath in awe, the cold turning it into a white cloud. Aiden felt her shiver next to him. It's absolutely stunning, Aiden, she whispered. I can see why you'd like to live up here year-round. He gave a chuckle.
If I did that, I'd be hard-pressed to see you. The mountain roads are too snow-packed the rest of January and February, sometimes long into March.
He glanced over at her with a sly smile, and she turned to him inquisitively.
You know, you could stay up here with me.
Lily widened her eyes in mock outrage. Nothing doing, logger man. We make it official before any moving in happens.
Yes, ma'am, he said, teasing her with a salute. I'm just giving you a hard time, he added, because I miss you when we're apart.
I miss you too, when we're both working so much?" Lily glanced backward. "You do have the most amazing sitting area both outside and inside." She gestured to the outdoor deck chairs and fire pit. Behind them, wide picture windows on 3 sides of the cabin took advantage of all the views. "You built this place with every detail in mind."
I figured if I'm up here working the better part of the year, I was going to take advantage of every mountaintop, sunset, and sunrise.
"I should have had Allison's replacement come earlier," Lily said now. "It's going to be dark driving back down these winding roads. But I brought a small overnight bag in case it was too dangerous to drive. Seems kind of crazy, but I trust you."
I'm glad you do, sweetheart.
Aiden said softly.
We can have our snow date in the morning when there's fresh powder.
Lily lifted an eyebrow. "No funny business, mister." He shook his head.
None. Scout's honor. I have a second bedroom with its own bathroom, so you'll have all the privacy you need.
"I thought the second bedroom was your office."
It usually is, but right now logging is over until spring, and I turned it into a guest room just for you.
"A room of my own?" Lily asked softly. "That was very thoughtful. But does it have a lock on the door?" she added in a teasing voice. Aiden let out a laugh.
Double lock, my girl. Handle and deadbolt.
"Seriously?"
Completely. Actually, since it's my office, I lock it from the inside and the outside since it has all my filing cabinets and paperwork and invoices, which I want to keep private and secure. I also have a fireproof safe for the big stuff.
"That makes sense. Very smart. Now I'm starving. Feed me, sir." An hour later, they were finishing up their steaks, potatoes au gratin, which Lily teased Aiden about, accusing him of changing careers to a chef, and the salad she had whipped together from the produce in the apartment-sized fridge. After washing the dishes and laying them to dry, Aiden built a roaring fire in the stone hearth while Lily snuggled on the couch, a cozy blanket wrapped around her shoulders. When she glanced up at him, those bright green eyes of hers looked like cracked emeralds, melting Aiden every single time. She was more beautiful than words could ever express. His desire to make her his had intensified over the past few months. "Do you still have work stuff to do tomorrow?" she asked softly. "You mentioned having to finish up the logging season." Aiden caught her hiding a yawn. Sunset was long past, and every window in the cabin was now dark as pitch.
Yeah, my final load of logs needs to be delivered at the sawmill tomorrow. They've been waiting for me. After that, I winterize the cabin, clean up my annual paperwork and budgets to drop off to my accountant. Then it's snowmobiling and skiing for the rest of the season.
"Sounds like fun," Lily said with a smile.
"Even better if you come with me. I only get 60 days, then we're back in production, even during March and April melt-off."
"Easy schedule, mister," she teased him, spreading out along the sofa while her silky locks spread across the couch pillows. She yawned again. Despite wanting to just stare at her beautiful face and figure, Aiden chuckled.
Yeah, those 12 to 14-hour days the rest of the year are a piece of cake.
"Yum. I love cake."
Ate the last of those cheap Debbie cakes last night, but I can whip you up a real authentic cake with layers right now if you'd like. From a box mix, that is. I think I have eggs.
Lily shook her head, smiling. "I was just kidding. But we could go to the bakery tomorrow morning for breakfast?"
Sounds good to me, but let's purchase breakfast food so we can eat right here.
Lily sat up, uncurling her legs. "Aiden, I hate to be a party pooper, but I'm about to fall asleep right here. Show me to my room, and I promise I'll be better company in the morning."
You're never bad company, sweetheart, but I think we both need a good night's sleep. When the logging season is over, my brain and body shut down. Any thought of getting back out there with the heavy equipment, and I'm mentally rebelling.
Our brains are programmed that way. Funny things, brains. Lily ran her palm along her jeans and started to rise to her feet. Aiden jumped up and grabbed her hand in his. "Wow, you're warm," she murmured. "Sorry for my icy fingers. I'm perpetually cold during winter."
"You feel perfect to me."
"You don't feel too bad yourself, Aiden Quinn," Lily whispered, tilting her face upward. "But I'm about to drop back onto the couch and start snoring. And that's not a pretty sight."
"How would you know? We can't see ourselves sleeping."
"My older sister told me that once, but she might have been lying."
Aiden chuckled, holding himself in check. He wanted to kiss her so badly, deeply and passionately, so much that Aiden was having a hard time controlling himself. They had been growing closer, their friendship deepening for several months now. They'd shared a few goodnight kisses, but he'd figured out very quickly that Lily was a girl in control of herself. She knew what she wanted in a man and kept him to a high standard. Even so, wrapping his arms around her was heaven, and she returned the embrace. He dropped a soft kiss on her hair, and she pulled back to smile at him with that inquisitive look she had. Aiden's insides melted like hot butter, the fire of his emotions toward Lily growing more powerful every day. Standing on tiptoe, Lily suddenly pulled him closer, then kissed him softly. Aiden inwardly groaned with the perfect sweetness of her lips. "Good night, Aiden," she whispered. "See you in the morning for our snow date." Aiden tried to rein in his impulse to kiss her again, preferably for at least an hour, then caught his breath. "I'll fix the bacon if you scramble the eggs," he finally spluttered. "You got yourself a deal, but since tomorrow is my day off, I don't plan to get up until at least 9. "Sounds good to me. It's too cold to work until later in the morning anyway."
His voice trailed away while she gave him a funny look.
"What's up? What did I forget?"
he asked. I'm sorry, but I think I left my overnight bag in the Hummer."
"I'll grab it,"
Aiden said, heading out the door with his car keys. He returned in moments with her bag and placed it in the guest room while Lily followed him down the hallway.
"Sleep well, sweetheart."
"Good night," she whispered with a soft smile. After Lily shut the bedroom door, Aiden ran his fingers through his hair as he returned to the living room. Shoving his hands into the pockets of his jeans, he stared out the wide windows, watching the stars glitter in the dark sky. He tugged at the beard he'd been growing the past few months in anticipation of the winter season. He wanted that woman more than anyone else he'd ever met. He just hoped his big plans didn't backfire. Chapter 3. Lily. When Lily woke up the next morning, Bullet was lying at the foot of her bed, his chin on her knee, tongue wagging with hopeful eyes that screamed, "Play with me!" Rolling over, Lily spotted the bedroom door cracked 2 inches. She could hear Aiden in the kitchen down the hall. "So that's how you snuck in here, Mr. Bullet. You must have used your nose to open my door, you smart thing." The German shepherd stared at her with deep brown eyes, paws draped across her legs that were still under the blankets. "You do warm me up," Lily said, patting the top of his head, then scratching at his large, upright ears pointed at attention. "It's cold outside. There's even ice on the windows. Time for a hot shower, then breakfast." At the suggestion of food, Bullet's head rose. His tail wagged faster. She could hear the clatter of pots on the stove and Aiden whistling. It was a nice, homey sound. Aiden Quinn had an effect on her that no other man ever had before. Not even close. For starters, he was so good-looking in the most masculine way ever. Thick, broad chest, arm muscles that didn't quit. burly and sexy with the bluest eyes she'd ever seen and a smile that never wavered. He was perpetually optimistic and happy, in addition to being the hardest worker she'd ever met. 6 feet 4 inches of powerful muscles and endless strength, along with those wide shoulders. And best of all, his big warm hands. Lily would never forget the first time he came into the coffee loft after she became a barista and was no longer a newbie. His shy smile. Those eyes of his rarely left her face. The man continued to order donuts and hot drinks for a solid 2 hours until she got off work, just so he could have a few moments to speak to her while she cleaned up the kitchen and the store. Aiden even jumped in to help her, mopping the floor and washing smudges off the picture windows, then walking her to her vehicle because it had turned dark. When was the last time a man had ever shown that kind of interest? Aiden had a magnetism that immediately drew Lily in. They both had grown up in small-town Snow Valley, but since Aiden was 4 years ahead of her in high school, they didn't really know each other. Even so, they discovered that they laughed at the same comedies, loved to dance the two-step to country music at Joe's Ribs on Saturday nights when they brought in live bands like the Iron Sticks, a local group made up of Snow Valley residents, kids who grew up here and were making it big now on the band circuit. And then there were those quick lunch hours when they scarfed down burgers at Big C's on Main like there was no tomorrow before going back to work. As long as Lily got her extra mustard, she was a happy girl. Snuggling under the warm heap of blankets for another minute, Lily relived a few of those special moments with Aiden. They had already created so many memories because she had been falling for the man for a long time. The first time he kissed her under a full moon in the parking lot at Big C's, her body turned to liquid while his powerful arms held her so close and gentle. Now, Lily jerked upright when she heard his boots at the end of the hall.
"Hey, Sleeping Beauty,"
Aiden called.
"do you need me to march in there and wake you up with a kiss?"
I'm up, she called back. Getting in the shower now, so don't you dare walk down that hall. If you come any closer, I have the power to give Bullet orders to attack, she added with a laugh.
"I think Bullet is in love with you as much as I am,"
Aiden said. His voice had a joking tone, but Lily knew he meant every word.
Mr. Quinn was not someone who flattered disingenuously.
Her breath caught at the idea of Aiden truly being her man, the one she might spend the rest of her life with. Aiden had recently told her he loved her, something she had wanted to hear for a long time. Lily pressed her hand to her pajama top, fiddling with the buttons. No flimsy nightgown up here on the mountain, especially not in January. She had her thick flannel pajamas and wool socks on. Of course, Aiden kept the cabin warm, and sitting in front of the fire the previous evening had been cozy and romantic while they talked and listened to music. "How much does a dog truly love?" she quipped in return through the crack in her bedroom door.
"Bullet loves with a fierceness and loyalty never known in any other animal, just like this animal talking to you right now. Now hurry that beautiful body out from under the covers, darling, because I've already burned the bacon and the eggs are next."
"Well, if that's the case, sounds like I need to rescue breakfast."
"Or me," Aiden chuckled. "I've already melted one spatula, and I'm working on a second one as we speak."
Laughing softly, Lily gathered fresh clothes from her overnight bag, then peeked out the door. Since this bedroom used to be an office, there was no adjoining bathroom. After waiting a moment and confirming that Aiden was in the kitchen, she knew the coast was clear. She raced to the shower and was dressed in 15 minutes and finished applying a bit of makeup and brushing out her hair. No point fixing it up. She'd be wearing a knit cap most of the day.
"I had to start over,"
Aiden admitted when she reached the kitchen doorway. He held up a melted and deformed rubber spatula, bits of burnt egg hanging off the edge. "I guess you were serious about needing that rescue,"
she said, quirking her lips. I see judgment all over your pretty face.
How about I take over the eggs while you go burn the bacon a second time?
Oh, that's cold. Really cold, Miss Coffee Loft woman.
Lily batted her eyelashes. I do have some experience in the kitchen. A grin played on his mouth.
Pouring drinks and handing over donuts?
Ooh, them's fightin' words. The war is on, Aiden Quinn, she challenged. So, you think all I do is pour drinks and hand over pastries? I'll have you know, I create those donuts. I give birth to the most delectable donuts in all of Montana, maybe all 48 contiguous states.
You're gonna leave Alaska and Hawaii out of the mix?
It's so cold in Alaska they can't even get their ovens to stay hot, and Hawaii only makes pineapple and coconut donuts. So, yuck.
Aiden's deep chuckle caused tingles to run down Lily's neck. Then he wrapped his big warm hands around her waist. Maybe that's how those Hawaiians like 'em. They've never known your perfect donuts and delicious hot cocoa with marshmallows.
Now you're speaking the truth, she retorted,
rummaging through the kitchen drawers for an unmangled spoon. Hey, he said softly, closing the drawer and tugging her hand around his waist.
What are you doing? Breakfast is off?
Good morning, beautiful.
Aiden tightened his embrace while his head bent down to kiss her lips, warm and tender and oh so sexy. No man had ever kissed her like he did. This burly, rugged mountain man sure knew how to melt Lily.
I think I'm swooning, she whispered against his mouth. His voice was husky. I like the sound of that.
We'd better eat before we get too carried away, Lily whispered.
You're right, Aiden said reluctantly, but smiling at the same time. We still have a big, wide-open future. Kind of sounds like the skies of Montana.
Did his words mean what Lily hoped he was referring to? A couple of months ago, she had come to the conclusion that she wanted a future with this man. He was funny, smart, and hardworking. He complimented and pampered her, and kissed like nobody's business. But after being burned by a major selfish jerk a few years ago, she was determined to wait for the man who truly wanted her forever, not just a few months or even a year. Aiden must have seen the array of emotions flickering over her face because he embraced her tightly.
Yes, I do love you, Lily, he said softly. You have my heart forever.
She stood on tiptoe and put her arms around his neck, burrowing her face into his warm flannel shirt. The breadth of his chest and the muscles of his strong arms holding her so carefully, so tenderly, brought tears to her eyes. I think you mean it, she admitted in a whisper.
I do. I would never, ever lie to you.
I feel the same way about you.
But what?
He teased her when her voice trailed off. Lily's lips twitched. Right now, it's time to eat breakfast and go play before I have to get back down the mountain to work.
And now we shall eat, Aiden declared in a big announcer's voice.
Within 30 minutes, the food was cooked, they'd eaten, and cleaned up the kitchen. Mostly.
We'll run the dishwasher later, Aiden said. Now get your boots and winter clothes. That's an order.
Lily saluted. Aye, aye, Captain.
My Navy days are long over, love.
If I understand correctly, once a chief petty officer, always a chief.
Last one out the door has to push the sled, Aiden quipped.
A light laugh escaped her lips.
Yeah, right, as if I have any chance of pushing you. Not. We'll draw straws.
You are too much. Lily hurried back to her room, pulled on her waterproof snow pants, wool socks, heavy snow boots, a thick shirt with a second sweatshirt over it, and finally the knit hat her mother had made her for Christmas. She pulled on her insulated winter gloves as she met Aiden at the front door. The air was so crisp it took Lily's breath away. Quickly, she wrapped the scarf over her mouth while watching Aiden clean 3 inches of snow from the windshield of his work truck. Are we driving to another location to make snow angels?
Nope, just down my own mountain right here. Morning habit, I guess. If I need to make a quick getaway, I like to be prepared by cleaning my windows. After our snow time, I'll drive that last load down to the mill like I mentioned yesterday.
Then you're finished for the year?
Well, last year's logging. Then I get to take a long winter's nap until March before the spring logging season begins. Although I spend those months cleaning tools, making repairs, inspecting the logging trucks, that kind of thing.
No vacation for the weary, huh?
It'll be nice to spend some time in my real house in town. Staying up here year-round makes me feel like I never get away from work.
Did your guys help you load before the holidays?
The last truck's been waiting for me. I need to double-check my ropes and the rigging to ensure the logging truck's sides are secure.
I get to ride in the logging truck with you?
He chuckled. Yeah, it's real exciting. And noisy. Very noisy, so don't say I didn't warn you.
I am excited. I've never done that before.
Regulations don't allow it, but it's just you and me, babe. A small load in my smallest logger. We'll be fine.
Race you to the bottom of the hill, Lily called out, breaking away from Aiden to run down the snowy slope. Good grief, the snow was deep. She was practically up to her thighs in some places, her waist in others.
Aiden's long legs quickly overtook her, plus his extra 6 inches in height.
No fair, she called out. Immediately, Bullet was galloping beside her, throwing up snow flurries as his 4 legs plowed through the powdery snow. Go, Bullet, go, she told him, but instead the shepherd slowed to match her stride, as if protecting her. The dog turned his head, tongue lolling, and she felt guarded and watched over. Ready for some snowballs? Bullet gave a short bark, then turned in a whirl to face her. Aiden had stopped at a small clearing in the middle of the sparse trees. Most of the forest had been cleared surrounding his cabin due to the logging enterprise. He was already making snowballs. Not to be outdone, Lily halted and began making her own pile of snowballs, trying to catch up. No rocks or dirty tricks.
Never! This isn't war, just a chance to wrestle in the snow with you, he called back.
Aiden's grin was wide and happy, his perfect white teeth sparkling under the brilliant sunshine. All at once he tackled her with a volley of snowballs. But Lily was ready. She had her own pile stocked up and threw them back. When she turned her head and a snowball caught her straight in the face, she gasped in shock at the cold. The snow dripped off her face and she brushed away the rest, blinking with surprise. Just for that? You deserve a snow washing, Mr. Quinn. She ran after him awkwardly, her boots sinking with each step. Oh, you! Aiden turned to look at her, his mouth twitching while he tried to smother a laugh. He held out his arms on both sides in a wide stance.
I'm all yours. Hit me with your best shot.
Lily obliged and hit her mark several times, but Aiden was stoic, smothering his own laughter. All at once, he swept her up in his arms and twirled in the snow. But it was so deep they both fell in a big pile, sinking in the soft powder. Lily was giggling so hard she couldn't stop, but the moment Aiden leaned over her and kissed her, she melted, wrapping her own thick Eskimo woman arms around his neck.
Your lips are cold, he whispered, a hand brushing at her cheek.
How do you stay so warm? Unfair.
Just lucky, I guess. But this gives me a very nice opportunity, he said slyly.
And what might that be?
A chance to warm you up? Ready for some hot chocolate?
We still have to build our snowman.
You're right, and we shall.
Aiden rose to his feet and held out his hand for Lily to grab.
You up for a little more of that lip lock later, my love?
He asked softly.
After I take my load of logs down to the sawmill?
Perhaps, she said vaguely, getting on her knees to begin rolling up the big lower ball to make their snowman. Although, I'll admit that was very nice, she added, giving him a playful grin. After another half hour, their snowman was complete. With coal from the wood stove for eyes and a carrot nose and pebbles pushed into the snow for a grinning mouth. Aiden shaded his eyes to peer up at the hazy winter sun.
I gotta get that load down the mountain. The supervisor at the mill told me no later than 3 o'clock.
Bullet will help me finish this guy's face. And... Lily took off her knit hat and placed it on the snowman's round, frosty head. I hereby dub you a snow woman, Lady Snow Queen.
Perfect,
Aiden said over his shoulder as he began tromping back up the hill.
I'm going to call you my Snow Queen from now on.
No, it's Your Majesty, Lady Snow Queen, to you. Lily could hear his laughter while she sank into the snow to admire their work, all the while rubbing Bullet's ears. All at once, the German shepherd took off running, chasing after Aiden. Hey, what's up? Lily shouted. Aiden turned to walk backward, calling back to her.
He always sits in the cab and helps me when I'm driving out with the logger truck.
How does Bullet help you?
He barks if I get too close to the edge. Even though he can't see, he has an amazing sense of direction and logistics.
I'll climb this hill all by myself then, Lily shouted back.
If you're not back up here by the time I start the engine, I'll come back down and carry you.
I'll hold you to it, Aiden Quinn. Chapter 4. Aiden. Aiden had already filled the logging truck with gas a few days earlier, so he wouldn't have to worry about stopping to fill up until later. The logging vehicle would stay parked at the mill until his return, and he had an old pickup truck waiting for him to drive home. He'd probably drive it back up to the cabin and leave it there while he used his Hummer for the rest of the winter. What a great find this big logging rig was when he purchased it from a military guy who was being stationed in Alabama. He loved it, heavy duty, in great shape, and low mileage. Walking around the logging truck, Aiden inspected the load, testing the ropes and ties. He probably needed to replace them next season, but it all appeared tight and sturdy. He was only going about 10 miles, and he was looking forward to having Lily with him for the first time. He still couldn't believe his luck that she had paid him any attention during that country dance at last year's Valentine's Day, let alone wanting him to stick around long term. His dream was to make their relationship permanent. Future plans, big plans, bloomed in his head. A beautiful, happy life with this woman he adored. The logging truck, with its massive wheels and heavy load, sat imposingly in the clearing. Icy snow crunched under his boots as Aiden moved past the cab and walked along the wide truck. His calloused hands gripped the ropes. Unfortunately, he had to take off the fat snow gloves to inspect everything, and his fingers were frozen from the abominably low temperatures. His work gloves weren't in the glove compartment, probably hiding somewhere in the cabin where he'd tossed them last night, distracted by gorgeous and sexy Lily. Now he used his fist to bang against the rough bark on the logs while he checked the stack and that everything was loaded properly. Finally, he jumped up into the cab and started up the engine. The sound was rough with the low temperatures, and he spent a few minutes warming up the motor. Glancing down the hill, he watched Lily inspect her snowman, or snow woman as she'd declared, boots spraying fresh powder while she played with Bullet, who spun in circles of delight around her. His German shepherd had deserted him 30 minutes ago to play with Lily in the snowdrifts. He didn't blame the animal. It amused him because she, and the snow, was obviously much more fun than he was. Snowflakes grazed her cheeks. She was so beautiful, almost ethereal in her exquisite appearance. All at once, Bullet stopped to stare up the hill toward him in the truck. He started to bark, and then out of the blue, the animal began to race up the hill toward him. Snow sprayed in every direction. What was he doing? Aiden rolled down his window and checked his side mirror, watching his dog as Bullet continued to bark and bark and bark. "Bullet, calm down. What's wrong? Is Lily okay?" The German Shepherd barked once, looking back at Lily and then at him in the cab. It was hard to hear anything, the engine was so noisy. "Wait here for a minute, buddy," he told Bullet, cracking open the truck door. "After I test the truck on this road, I'll let you in the cab with me. We'll be cozy when Lily gets up here, but right now I can't feel my fingers. Plus, we need to wait for Lily to climb back up the hill. Keep an eye on her for me." Aiden turned up the heater full blast. The truck was finally getting warmer. He put the truck in gear and moved forward a few inches, then back again, the crunching snow creating a whiny sound. It all looked good. Perfect. They'd be down the mountain and dropping off this load of logs in an hour. The rest of the day would belong to them. Chapter 5. Lily. Lily watched Aiden as he stood tall, muscular, and incredibly handsome up on top of the slope. He'd taken off his heavy coat while securing the logs in the truck's sidings, or bunks, which held the logs in place during the drive to the sawmill. His flannel shirt now had wet spots from the snow. Aiden's physique was more than impressive, and Lily's heart stuttered inside her chest. Tearing her eyes away for a moment before she literally swooned into a puddle next to her snowman-turned-female, Lady Snow Queen, she watched Bullet running in circles around Aiden, then racing back and forth along the wheels of the logging truck. He seemed excited about the work. Probably did this every time Aiden hauled a fresh load to the sawmill. He was a great dog, so sweet and obedient too. Now Lily frowned slightly. All at once, Bullet started to appear more agitated than excited now that she watched him more closely. Was there something wrong? "Hey, Aiden!" she called up the hillside, but it was obvious he couldn't hear her due to the loud rumbling of the engine. Bullet barked, then barked again. Now he was barking furiously, even ferociously, his bark sharp and urgent. What was going on? Lily started to climb the steep hill. It was slower going now because her legs felt like ice blocks. The heater in that truck was probably toasty by now, and she couldn't wait to get inside and warm up her frozen fingers. She pulled her scarf tighter and thrust her gloved hands deeper into her pockets, shivering now. On top of the hill, Aiden jumped out of the cab to see what Bullet was barking about. He began inspecting the rope tying the load of logs together. She could hear his agitated voice when he mumbled something at Bullet. Lily heard him groaning with effort as he worked on the ropes. He was obviously frustrated. All at once, he jerked backwards as the ropes on the lower row suddenly snapped with a crack. Lily heard him yell in frustration, then sheer panic. The logs were straining against the now broken ropes, despite Aiden's attempt to stop them. He whipped around to face Lily at the bottom of the hill, his face white. "Lily!" he yelled. "Run! It's going to break! Go toward the lake!" "Which way is the lake?" she shouted in return, but he couldn't hear her over the rumbling noise of the falling logs. Instead, Aiden tried to brace himself against the truck to stop the inevitable, but it was futile. The logs were so large and heavy it would have taken 20 men to stop the avalanche. One of the logs, followed by several others, knocked him to the ground. He crawled under the truck to save himself from getting trampled. Faintly, she heard him scream again, "Lily! Run west!" The sun was overhead by now, and Lily was unfamiliar with this location, so there was no telling which direction was west or east. Dear Lord, she moaned as 2 logs began rolling down the hill toward her. Was it better to go right or left, or head deeper into the woods behind her? She chose the woods directly behind her and farther away from the logs and the cabin, praying she had made the correct choice. Even so, the deep snow slowed her down and the logs moved faster and faster. Dangerously fast. She could hear them, a horrifying sound of doom. Panicking, she turned her head to look behind her and screamed. The log had slowed a little as the slope of the hill wasn't as steep as higher up, but the massive tree trunk was coming right for her. She turned to her left, trying to get away, but the snow was so deep and soft she could hardly walk, let alone run. Now she screamed in terror. There was no way to outrun the massive, heavy log longer than a 100-foot tree. The log was like a bullet train coming straight at her. Trying to lift her leg up to attempt to run again was useless. All at once, she felt a massive weight, like a piece of exploding concrete, hit her on the back of her head. She was powerless to save herself as her legs crumpled and her knees hit the snow. The log threw her to the ground, then crushed her and rolled over the top of her body, pushing her deep into a snowdrift. Searing pain immobilized her, and Lily could barely breathe. Buried in the snow, the world went black. Chapter 6. Aiden. When Aiden watched Lily go down, knocked to the ground by the lethal runaway log, Aiden's world collapsed. And now, with all the piles and high drifts of snow, he couldn't see her any longer. Aiden ran, heart lodged in his throat, eyes blurring with tears as he tried to get to her as fast as he could. His dog ran right next to him, breathing hard. Aiden was too heavy for the heavy icy snow. He could barely lift his boots before sinking fast with each step. Panic surged in his chest, cutting off his breathing. "Bullet! Get Lily! Save Lily! Go!" The German Shepherd could run faster than he could. All Aiden could do was hope she'd just been knocked down, that she was still alive. Aiden ran down the hill towards Lily, heart thudding in his chest. He was gulping air like a crazy man when he finally reached her. The sight of her lying face down in the snow, blood seeping from a gash on the back of her head, sent a rush of pure horror through him. Bullet crouched by her side, licking her hand, then her chin, whining softly in his throat. Blood stained the snow a deep, horrible red. The sight shocked him to his core. Had he killed her? Was she gone? Just like that? In mere seconds of a horrible accident? Why hadn't he finished taking the logging truck to town yesterday? Why had he brought Lily up with him on this day? This day was all wrong. Aiden fell to his knees and gently touched her shoulder, careful not to injure her further, especially if she had any broken bones. The deep red blood worried him most of all, especially when the gash had split the back of her head. Terror scraped his throat. Lily wasn't breathing. Perhaps her lungs had frozen. Immediately, Aiden began to give her mouth-to-mouth to push warm air into her throat. Tears burned his eyes, panic roaring in his ears. A few moments later, Lily began to cough, her hands pushing at him, agitated. Her eyelashes fluttered and she moaned, struggling to move, to sit up, although she had no strength to do anything but sink back into the deep snow. A moment later, Lily rallied again, stirring and trying to open her eyes. Aiden knelt beside her, relief washing over him at the sight of her coming back to consciousness. Her green eyes finally came into focus, and she stared at him. Aiden brushed his palm against her face, wanting to gather her in his arms in a wave of relief so fierce it overwhelmed him. But he stopped when she looked at him. Confusion filled her eyes, then panic. She groaned, trying to move away from him as if scared, but her movements were futile. She was weaker than a kitten, and it was clear she didn't recognize him. A cold dread settled in Aiden's stomach, his entire being. That confused expression was still on her face, and then she tried to push him away, but her arms flopped weakly back to her sides.
"Are you okay, Lily?"
Aiden's voice quivered as he knelt beside her. Bullet nuzzled her hand, licking her palm and whimpering in distress.
"What are you doing?"
she said hoarsely.
"Go away! Don't touch me! Who are you?"
"Lily, it's me, Aiden," he said gently, reaching out to grasp her hand. But she recoiled, her gaze darting frantically as if searching for an escape.
I don't know you,"
she whispered, her voice trembling with the sound of fear. Aiden's heart broke at her words, knowing that something had shattered inside her, along with the terrible wound on her head from the log that had struck her. Lily blinked up at the towering pines, the flakes of snow drifting from the overcast sky. She winced as she gingerly touched the side of her head as if trying to find the exact spot where the pain was coming from.
"Lily, it's me, Aiden,"
he murmured again, his voice breaking.
"We're at my cabin in the mountains. We were building a snowman. I was getting the logging truck ready for delivery to the mill."
Confusion flickered in Lily's eyes as she tried to turn her head. "You're who?" He gripped her hand, then kissed the back of it. She flinched while she moaned, tears filling her eyes.
"It's Aiden. There's been a terrible accident. Are you in much pain?"
"Your name is... what? I'm sorry, I don't remember." She glanced about, those dazzling green eyes darting everywhere. "Where am I?" A lump of grief formed in his throat, and Aiden's heart sank as he realized she didn't know him.
"You don't recognize me, Lily?"
he asked gently. She tried to shake her head but winced in pain at the movement. "No," she whispered. "I've never seen you before. Why am I lying in the snow?"
"I'm Aiden, and we're, friends. We're at my cabin, and I need to get you to the hospital."
Her eyes clouded. "Why?"
"You took a pretty hard crack on the back of your head, and you're bleeding."
"What?" Lily touched her head again, then stared at her fingers that came away bloody. "Oh, no!"
"I'm going to take care of you,"
Aiden said softly so as not to alarm her.
"You're awake, and that's the good news. The doctors can stitch you up, but we need to get you back up that hill as fast as possible and get you to the hospital."
He pointed up toward the cabin, and Lily made a funny noise in her throat as if the hill was Mount Everest. She shook her head, fear in her eyes. "I can't move," she whispered, her body trembling now from the cold. If they stayed out here any longer, she'd get hypothermia. As gently as possible, Aiden said,
"I'm going to carry you up the hill and get you into my truck. We can be at the hospital in less than 20 minutes.
She nodded slowly while a tear rolled down her face. Bullet took that moment to lick her face, then lay one of his large paws on her arm.
"Are you okay if we bring Bullet with us? He can sit beside you and help keep you warm."
"Okay," she said softly with a tiny nod. Slowly, Aiden helped bring Lily to a sitting position. Despite her small cries and moans, he had to move her fast. Soon, he was carrying her up the hill of snow, glad he was wearing his heavy work boots. His heart lodged in his throat, one thought running through his mind. Lily didn't know him. She didn't recognize him. The knowledge was devastating. She was now shivering uncontrollably, her entire body trembling. Her hands fisted around the lapels of his coat while Bullet bounded beside him, running up the hill, then back down to bump his nose against the back of Aiden's legs, as if to hurry him up. He could only hope that Lily's memory loss was a temporary occurrence, a cause of the trauma from the accident. But it could be so much worse, and that terrified him. He had heard of such things happening in books and movies, but never thought it could happen to someone he loved so deeply. Still carrying Lily, Bullet jumped in right after and laid down on the floor to watch over her. Aiden always carried extra blankets with him in the wintertime, and now he laid 2 thick ones on top of Lily, cradling her head with a small pillow he kept handy during hunting season, when he slept in the woods. Lily's eyes were closed, and that worried Aiden. She appeared to be asleep, and that might not be a good idea. She probably had to stay awake, even if it was a mild concussion. Gently, he touched her hand, then took off her snow-packed gloves. Her fingers were as cold as ice, so he wrapped his big warm hand around hers to warm it up for a moment, then made sure she had a seatbelt around her. Jumping into the driver's seat, Aiden revved the engine and took off as fast as he dared. Winding roads were up ahead, and even though he was tempted to tear down the mountain highway as fast as possible, the risk wasn't worth it when Lily was so fragile. "Hang on, sweetheart," he said, glancing back to make sure she was okay when he turned out of the road to the cabin and entered the highway. It was mostly empty, which was good. Behind him, Lily murmured something, but Aiden couldn't make out what she was trying to say. "We should be at the hospital in 15 minutes. She muttered a second time, something like, "Not, sweetheart," which tore his heart into more shreds. "Don't try to talk, Lily, just hang on. Stay awake. Don't close your eyes." Aiden tried to focus on driving as safely as possible while still going over the speed limit. He knew these roads like the back of his hand, probably driven them a few thousand times. Whenever he came to a blind curve, he honked his horn, but he never met another vehicle. Not many people had day trips during the winter. Certainly no picnics, and the ski slopes were on the opposite side of the mountain. Emotion pricked his eyes when he finally entered Snow Valley. Staying on Main Street, he passed by all the familiar places. The Snow Valley Community Church, Dove's Groceries, Big C's Burgers, the high school off to his right, and finally he spied the lit-up hospital with its emergency drive-up. "We're here, darling," Aiden said softly. Since there were no other vehicles on the side of the hospital, he turned off his engine. He glanced over the car seat. "Bullet, I gotta leave you here. Guard the truck. I'll be back in a little while. Nurses will probably make me move this hunk of steel to the parking lot." Bullet gave a short bark of understanding, and Aiden gave a quick rub on top of the dog's head. Gently, he helped Lily sit up and then swung her legs one by one through the side Hummer door so they could navigate their way to the glass double doors. Before she had even had the chance to try to stand, a nurse came running out. "Sir, what's going on?" the nurse asked, moving quickly to Lily. This is Lily Wilder. We had an accident up at my logging camp. A log rolled down the mountain and hit her." The nurse made a quick gesture behind her, and an orderly immediately came through the automatic doors pushing a gurney. "A log hit her in the head." The nurse's voice was clipped and professional. "How did that happen?" "Fell off my logging truck while I was prepping to go to the sawmill." "She's bleeding quite a bit." She... Aiden stopped, not knowing how to say it. "Where else is she hurt?" "I don't think anywhere else, but she was knocked unconscious and wasn't breathing. When she came to, she didn't seem to recognize me." "Try not to worry. She's in good hands. Doc Taggart is here today. Mr. I'm Aiden Quinn. Please take care of her." His voice trailed away while he fought the rise of emotion all over again. "Of course. You can wait in the emergency room, which is just inside, although your dog will need to remain in your vehicle." "I understand." Before he could finish, the hospital orderly already had Lily on the gurney and was pushing her through the double doors. They disappeared around a corner. "I'll give you an update in a little while, Mr. Quinn," the nurse said as she followed Lily and the orderly through the automatic doors that closed with a soft whoosh. The nurse pointed toward a small seating area. Then she disappeared before he could ask any other questions. Aiden had never felt so hopeless in his life. Chapter 7. Lily. Bright lights hurt Lily's eyes when she tried to open them, and she barely managed to crack her eyelids. Voices and lights surrounded her, the sound of bustling activity. Where was she? "Lily, are you waking up, love?" a gentlewoman's voice said with a slight Scottish accent. But she couldn't speak. She was so disoriented, although she attempted to say something. Her lips were moving, weren't they? She could hear herself say something, and the words sounded normal to her own ears, but the woman tending to her didn't seem to understand what she was saying. "Don't try to talk or worry, Lily. You're in good hands. My name is Fiona Craig," she added, pointing to her name tag, but Lily's eyes were blurry. "And I'm taking care of you, sweetheart. Dr. Taggart had x-rays as well as a CT scan done. We want to make sure there are no broken bones, as well as do a thorough exam of your head and brain for damage or bleeding." Broken bones? How could she have broken bones if she didn't fall or have an accident? Why was she at the hospital at all? And her brain? What was wrong with her brain? That was the scariest thing of all. What had happened to her? Lily tried to shift on the narrow bed, but her head exploded with agony at the slightest movement. So intensely, it made her feel nauseated. A vice strangling her on either side of her head. "Try not to move too much, honey," Fiona said softly. "We have you on an IV with a direct painkiller." Lily groaned, an eruption from deep in her throat. Or maybe it was her chest. She had no idea where her arms and legs began. She had become a disembodied person floating. "The pain should lessen quickly." Fiona's voice was warm and soothing. "You'll feel like you're floating on a cloud." Clenching her fist through the worry, the sound of the woman's sweet voice and accent was comforting despite Lily's panic about waking up at a hospital without anyone she knew at her bedside. "Mom," she tried to croak out. Fiona chuckled. "Now that request I understood, Miss Lily. Your husband told us that he's contacting your parents, although he said that they live in North Dakota now instead of Snow Valley, so that's a bit of a distance. It may take them until tomorrow to arrive, so sit tight and try not to worry." Yes, her parents had moved to North Dakota a couple of years ago for her dad's job in the oil business. But the rest of the nurse's explanation disappeared into the ether after Lily heard the word husband. Was Lily now living on a different planet? Or had she switched bodies with someone? There was no way she could have forgotten getting married or having a husband. Or had she? The idea was terrifying. I don't have," she tried to say, but her lips and tongue were all wobbly from the painkiller. Although it was a relief to not hurt so much now that it was taking effect. Just then, the sound of footsteps came toward her. Heavier footsteps than the nurse's. "Hello, Lily. I'm Dr. Taggart. We've all been taking care of you." Lily tried to look at him, but the lights were horribly bright. She squeezed her eyes shut. "Please dim the lights, Fiona," the doctor said in a gentle voice. Instantly, the lights lowered, and Lily could focus a little better. Dr. Taggart patted her hand. "You've had a serious accident, Miss Lily Wilder. Hard to outrun a tree trunk coming at you at 50 miles an hour. You're lucky to be alive." Lily didn't feel that lucky. "Okay," she said slowly, wondering how she'd stepped in front of a moving tree trunk. She was pretty sure she was much smarter than that. Besides, tree trunks didn't normally unroot themselves and fly around in the air.
But you do have a pretty dramatic gash in the back of your head. We've cauterized the wound a bit to stop the bleeding. You probably feel the bandage wrapped around your head.
Lily lifted a hand to touch her forehead, and sure enough, thick gauze had appeared there.
Ouch, she murmured. You also have stitches, the doctor continued. We're going to send you home with a prescription for pain meds. Secondly, the X-rays and CT scans showed no signs of anything broken, which is good news.
That's excellent, Lily, the nurse said enthusiastically. You might have had a broken arm or leg. God blessed you. Doc Taggart smiled at Fiona and continued.
You may feel nauseous for the next day or two, but we don't see any real sign of bleeding on the brain. That often happens when the head is struck that hard, or someone takes a fall and gets a concussion. Your concussion is more serious than most, so if you start having other symptoms like dizziness, blackouts, constant blinding headaches, or fall again, I want to see you back for another CT scan.
Lily slowly nodded, and Fiona patted her hand again. You'll be right as rain in a few days, maybe a week, but take it easy. No working for at least a week, maybe longer, depending on how fast you heal. Use your medical benefits and let the stitches heal. Get your strength back.
But what about the Coffee Loft shop? She was finally able to spit out, even though there was a roaring sound in her ears. Hearing herself say the words felt a little strange, but being at the Coffee Loft sounded nice, and friendly, and warm, and yummy. She was starving. Could I get a donut? Chocolate with sprinkles and fudge chunks, please? Fiona chuckled and nodded while Dr. Taggart smiled. That right there means you're going to be just fine. Fiona will help you schedule an appointment with me in a few days at my office to examine the stitches and see how you're doing. If all looks good, we can take them out, although most will dissolve on their own time.
Lily nodded, overwhelmed by it all. She couldn't even remember the details of the accident at the moment. It seemed like this was all happening to someone else. But the pain and the gauze were real, and it hurt. She tried not to worry about bleeding in her brain. That didn't sound very good at all. I don't remember driving here, Lily said, feeling stupid. Is my car in the parking lot? Do you know where my handbag is? Fiona gave her a searching look. You didn't have any belongings with you when you arrived. Is your car that big Hummer truck? There's one in the parking lot with a German Shepherd. That poor thing has been staring out the window ever since you arrived. My what? I don't have a Hummer or a dog. That must be someone else. Nope, darling. I watched your husband park the truck and get you out of the vehicle himself. I was at the desk by the emergency doors when you arrived and came out to help. Lily shook her head. None of the pieces of what she was saying made a bit of sense. Was the woman a little scatterbrained? Fiona pointed a finger past the small, partitioned hospital room Lily was lying in. See that fella past the open door sitting in the waiting room? He's been here all day pacing the floor, worrying like a demon. I tried to get him to eat something, but he wouldn't leave in case there was news about you. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he was madly in love with you, sweetheart. But I don't have a husband. Lily tried to make the woman understand she wasn't crazy. I've never seen that man before in my life. Why do you keep saying that? I don't know him. Maybe he's an imposter. He might even be a criminal or a swindler, lying to get something from me or rob me blind. Her voice hysterically rose up a notch, and Lily abruptly stopped, wondering if she was sounding crazy. Plus, her head was throbbing against something fierce. She placed a hand against her temple and grimaced. Goodness, her skin was ice cold. All the nurses and orderlies and even Dr. Taggart appeared shocked at her words. The doctor paused at the curtains that he'd been about to exit, and his eyes fixed on Lily, watching the scene play out while his expression turned thoughtful. Fiona lifted her eyebrows and blinked several times. "I don't know him, my dear, but he's been very kind and quite solicitous while waiting for you, including extremely worried about you." Lily bit her lips, an overwhelming sensation drowning her. An actor has a lot of talent to pretend. I know, I've watched a lot of movies. The more Lily talked, the crazier she sounded. Why was she rambling? She never rambled incoherently. Or did she? Was this normal and she'd had no idea before now? Clamping her mouth shut, Lily gripped the handrails of the bed. This cubicle was like a prison now. She had to escape. Despite it being impossible, she wasn't sure she could stand on her own 2 feet and not collapse into a puddle of weak goo. She bit her lips and tried to relax, tendrils of panic rising up her throat and then her arms and legs. She shivered, wishing she was home in her own bed underneath the electric blanket. She was not a crazy lady. She never had been. The next instant, there was a ringing sound, and Lily glanced around in confusion. "Do you hear that weird ringing?" she asked the nurse. "Yes, dear. I think it's your phone." "Oh, right," Lily said sheepishly. "I recognize that ringtone." "I believe it might be in your snow pants, honey." "Can you help me get it?" Lily patted at her leg, but she couldn't feel her snow pants, or her zipper or pockets. Was she wearing anything? It was hard to tell when she was in such pain. "It's gone! What happened to my phone? To my pants?" "We took off your snow pants to warm you up, sweetheart. They're in the chair across the room. They're drying. You're still wearing your jeans, and we have a heated blanket on top of you." "Oh," Lily said, all at once so tired she just wanted to go to sleep. Her eyes fluttered closed. "You can't sleep yet, Lily. Stay awake for me because I'm fetching your cell phone, and I'll help you answer it." From the other side of the room, there was the sound of a zipper opening and closing. Fiona touched Lily's arm and handed the phone to her. "Here you go, darling." Lily clutched the cell phone as a male orderly brought in a wheelchair, parting the curtains to her cubicle. Blinking to clear her eyes, Lily hit the talk button. A voice instantly launched into her ear. "Lily, darling, how are you? I just got the shocking news of your accident." It was her mother. At least, it was a woman that sounded like her mom. "Mom?" "Yes, honey, it's me. I'm so sorry I'm not there, but I'll get on a plane as soon as I can." A tiny sense of relief swept over Lily. When her mother got here, everything would be okay. That's how it always was. She bit her lips, worried that her thoughts would make her seem like a child. "Good, Mom. Thanks," she whispered. At that moment, the enormously tall, bearded dude that Fiona kept gushing over appeared in the crack of the cubicle's curtains. Lily tried not to flinch, but that was pretty much impossible. Okay, he was handsome in a mountain man way. She liked tall men with beards and tall bearded men who had muscles, and this guy had muscles galore. They bulged and swelled in ripples when he moved. His blue flannel shirt was about to burst its seams, but the shirt managed to stay together while tucked into his jeans. The jeans that tucked into his rugged work boots. "Lily, are you still there, honey? Do you think I can talk to the doctor?" Okay, let me see." She took the cell phone away from her ear and the doctor paused. "Do you mind talking to my mother, Doc Taggart? I know you're busy." "Of course. I'm glad she called. I'm a little worried about you, Miss Wilder." "Aren't I okay?" "Of course, but I'm wondering about having you see one of our hospital psychologists. You've had a major accident, and I think that concussion might have you a little more discombobulated than we first suspected." Beside her, Fiona was nodding and smiling as if she agreed with every word the doctor was saying. Didn't Lily even have her own nurse on her side? What did the doctor mean by discombobulated? She was fine. She could talk. She knew what was going on despite those few moments of blacking out in the snow. That was more like shock than actually passing out, right? Okay, that's fine, Lily said. She was a little resentful that everybody was watching her like a child about to fall down a step or burn her finger on a hot stove, as if she didn't know her own mind or how to take care of herself. She listened as the doctor spoke to her mother. The phone call was brief. Afterward, Doc Taggart slipped through the curtains, handing a prescription to Fiona while Lily watched. The doctor came to her bedside and squeezed her hand. I know this is confusing and traumatizing, and your memory is mixed up, but I'm sure you will feel like yourself after a few days of rest. Try not to be overly anxious. You've been injured, but you will heal, I promise. Tears of pain and worry pricked at Lily's eyes as she nodded. Doc Taggart was always so gentle and comforting. She had to try to have trust in his words and the care he'd given her. When the doctor exited the hospital room, Lily lifted the receiver to her ear again. Hey, Mom, she said, exhaustion overwhelming her like a freight train. It's me again. Are you sure you can't stay at Aiden's cabin until I get there, darling? Honestly, I've never even heard of this Aiden person, Lily said. I keep telling everyone that. Are you sure you're thinking of the right man? Okay, do me a favor, honey. Hold up your phone camera so I can catch a glimpse. Then we'll know for sure whether it's Aiden or somebody else. Well, at least I can confirm or deny, her mother added with a chuckle. Lily gave a small sigh. Okay, I guess so. She turned her camera on and moved it around the room, catching sight of that same dude still standing at the parted curtains. His arms were at his sides, and it appeared that he was attempting not to stare at her, but when he noticed that Lily was looking at him, he yanked his eyes away. Guess he didn't want to scare her. That was a good sign, but she still had no clue who he was. Yes, honey, I see that man standing across from your hospital bed. That's Aiden. You've been together for over a year. You're in a serious relationship. Lily laughed. Are you all in cahoots? That's what my nurse keeps saying, but how would she know? Your mother has just confirmed it. Hopefully you trust me, but... She rushed ahead before Lily could argue. I don't think it's a good idea for you to go back to your apartment and be by yourself until I can arrive. The stitches might start bleeding again or rip open, and frankly, darling, you don't sound quite like yourself. I am not going home with a complete stranger. I wouldn't even get into a car to go to Dove's groceries with him. I understand how you must feel, but please allow me to worry and fret about you for a few days. Oh, I also just got the best idea. As soon as we hang up, I'm calling Raina at the bed and breakfast. You remember her, don't you? Lily gave a small, ironic laugh. Yes, Mother, I remember her. I merely worked for her for 5 years. I'm sure she'll give you an empty room for a few days while you recover. All right, that sounds okay, but only for a couple of days. When Lily got off the phone, Fiona was smiling and patting her arm. A perfect plan. You can rest and sleep and heal. Call the hospital if you have any questions anytime, day or night, these next few days. Okay, Lily said with a nod. Here is the prescription for an antibiotic, Fiona continued. So the wound doesn't get infected, as well as a relaxer so you can sleep, plus pain medication. Dr. Taggart already sent the request to the pharmacy electronically, so if you misplace the prescription, don't worry. Doc also set up an appointment with Dr. Mitchell, an excellent psychiatrist, to help you through this difficult time. He can squeeze you in the day after tomorrow. That will give you 2 days of rest, sleep, and recovery. By then, your mother will be here and can drive you. Dr. Taggart says, no driving on your own. The words made Lily feel like a child, but she just bit her lips and said nothing. Then she changed her mind and spoke up. I need to go to work tomorrow. Today was just a day off. Everyone in town has heard about your accident, and your employer knows by now that you'll be off recovering for a few days. If you absolutely need to go to the pharmacy or your appointment with Dr. Mitchell, you can catch an Uber. But it's important to keep the appointment even if you're feeling better. But I'm sure your mother will drive you. Or that nice young man in the waiting room. Lily let out a deep breath. The entire situation seemed silly and over the top, but she decided that arguing wasn't going to get her what she wanted. What nice young man? She asked, her thoughts turning confused all over again. Fiona's eyes sparkled with amusement. The one your mother called Aiden on the phone, the handsome man sitting in the waiting room. Well, not sitting. Pacing back and forth is more like it. I think he's terribly worried about you, Lily. Okay, if you say so, Lily said sweetly while trying to plan her next move, which, at the moment, was curling up in her own bed and sleeping for a week. Chapter 8. Aiden. Aiden stepped away from the cubicle when Lily was talking to her mother on the phone. He headed back to the plastic chair in the waiting room, his stomach gnawing with anxiety. With Lily's horrific accident, not only had the life of the woman he cherished turned upside down, but his future looked bleak. In fact, he may not have a future with Lily at all, ever. The realization was like being buried under an avalanche, or falling off a cliff into an abyss. His throat was raw, his heart throwing knives at his chest. He wanted to scoop her up, lift her gently into his vehicle, and carry her away. But all of that was impossible. Maybe forever. He was a total stranger to her, and that knowledge about knocked him over. In fact, he was so blinded by agony that he kicked at one of the hospital chairs. He wanted to yell until he was blue in the face, wave a magic wand, and go back in time to breakfast this morning in his cabin with Lily. Why did he suggest playing in the snow? Why hadn't he taken that massive logging truck down before visiting Lily at the Coffee Loft? Why couldn't he turn the freaking clock back? He whirled around as Lily was wheeled slowly out of the cubicle. She wasn't carrying any personal belongings because they were still at the cabin. When he had parked crooked in front of the sliding glass doors, he'd carried her in his arms, unconscious and bleeding, just 5 or 6 hours ago. Aiden's stomach growled. It was nearly dinner time now, but the sound just made him impatient. It killed him to hear Lily say she didn't want to get into the car with that strange man. Her words still echoing in his head were a death sentence. Losing her would be the same as getting locked inside solitary confinement for the rest of his life. His dreams, their dreams and their plans had fallen off a cliff. Lily's words reverberated over and over again in his ears, despite that nurse, Fiona, trying to assuage Lily's fears. I don't care how many times you tell me that man is my boyfriend or husband or whoever. I don't know him. I don't trust him. When Lily appeared in a wheelchair pushed by the male orderly, Fiona at her side, Aiden's heart leapt. At least she wasn't so injured that they were keeping her overnight. Dear God in heaven, he loved that beautiful, funny woman. He strode over to her, hope causing his heart to race like he'd just run a marathon. I can take you home, Lily, he said softly, but his voice cracked with emotion as he tried to maintain a calm facade. She shook her head, a look of panic darkening her eyes. The fear in Lily's eyes was real, and it pierced Aiden's heart like 1,000 daggers. She clutched the armrests of the wheelchair, her knuckles turning white. No, I don't want to go with you. I don't know you, she whispered, her voice trembling. Aiden felt like he had been punched in the gut. How could he make her understand? How could he bridge this gap that had suddenly formed between them? Taking a deep breath, Aiden crouched down in front of Lily so that their eyes were level.
I know this is confusing for you, Lily, but please believe me when I say that I love you. We love each other, and I will do everything in my power to help you heal from this terrible accident. And remember that. Remember us.
Lily stared into his face as if looking for something familiar, something comforting. Then she turned away, fear erasing the little bit of hope.
Aiden's heart shattered.
His despair turned into an abyss he feared he would never climb out of. He had to make her understand that they had a relationship, a wonderful, exciting, and loving relationship. But how could he win back her trust and love when she didn't even recognize him?
Lily, please,
Aiden began, his voice cracking with emotion.
Give me a chance. I know you don't remember me right now, but I love you more than anything in this world. We had plans together, dreams we wanted to chase. Please, let me show you the love.
He broke off when a flicker of fear showed in her eyes. He needed to back off. He was scaring her, and that was the last thing he wanted to do. Glancing over his shoulder again and again, he slouched through the doors toward his Hummer, defeat about to swallow him up. But Bullet was frantically pawing at the window and whining so loud he could hear it through the closed windows. Aiden opened the rear door and Bullet bounded down off the seat and ran in circles around him, almost knocking him off his feet as he tried to pet him. Before he could grab the dog's collar to make sure he didn't dart into the street, Bullet had other plans and was off running. It quickly became apparent that Aiden's pet had been studiously watching them from inside the truck because he immediately darted toward Lily in the wheelchair, waiting on the curb with the hospital orderly. Lily's eyebrows rose and she leaned forward, wincing slightly from the wound in her head. Ignoring the pain, she cried out, "Bullet, you good boy, I've missed you." Lily gave the giant shepherd a kiss on top of his head while rubbing his ears warmly. Was it weird that Aiden was jealous of his own pet? "Where did you come from?" Lily whispered. Bullet gave a small whining yelp, glancing back at Aiden, who stuck his hands in his jean pockets and watched them. Confusion overwhelmed him. How could Lily recognize Bullet but not him? Bullet stood patiently while Lily continued to pet him. Then he nuzzled her hand, finally sitting down next to her on the concrete sidewalk. Lily lifted her head and gazed at Aiden. "This is your dog?"
"Yep, the one and only Bullet. Been with me for a long time now."
She frowned, obviously confused, then shook her head. But at that moment, a blue SUV pulled off Main Street and into the hospital parking lot. Even so, Aiden took a few steps closer to Lily, hoping Bullet was breaking the ice between them. "He's a great dog. I do remember that," Lily said softly. "So why don't I remember you?" Aiden shrugged, biting his lip to keep from letting out a howl of frustration and anguish while the back of his eyes burned with emotion. The blue SUV driver rolled down his window, glancing at each of them in turn.
"Hey, one of you called for an Uber?"
Lily lifted her hand. "That was me." The guy was about 35, with shaggy red hair, staring at her wheelchair reluctantly.
"Am I going to have to figure out how to fold that thing and put it in my trunk?"
Fiona stepped forward. "I'll take care of it. The wheelchair remains here at the hospital. Will you take this young lady to the Starry Skies bed and breakfast?"
"Okay, although it's out of my way, out of town."
Aiden couldn't stop himself from inserting himself into the situation.
"We're aware of that, but this is where the young lady is going. Please show your ID so I can match your car with the Uber app."
Lily glared at him. "I'm not a helpless invalid, Mr. Quinn. I already verified the car and the driver's photo."
Sorry, Lily, just trying to help.
He turned to the driver again with instructions.
When you arrive at the B&B, help Miss Wilder out of the car. Walk her to the front door and make sure she gets inside safely. There could be ice on the sidewalks. Reina Kinsella is the owner, and she'll be there to meet you. Drive safely.
The Uber driver had the good sense to look sheepish.
Sorry,
Aiden cut him off.
Put the charges on my card,
he said, taking out his wallet. Lily held up a stern hand. I can pay for my own Uber, Mr. Stranger. Aiden moved closer to her.
Please let me, he said quietly. I'll feel better knowing you'll arrive safely. Do it for Bullet, if not for me.
Lily let out a breath and then a sigh. Okay, for Bullet. This one time. For Bullet. Her words had a tone of impatience, but Aiden swore she smiled a little bit when she mentioned his dog. He glanced at his watch. He planned to time this lazy, impudent Uber driver. His heart was in his throat while he watched Fiona help Lily into the vehicle and shut the rear door. Aiden didn't stop watching until they had pulled out of the hospital parking lot and had driven down Main Street, through the first light, until he couldn't see them any longer. A male voice spoke next to him. It was Dr. Taggart.
Hey, Doc,
he said, startled to see the man at his side. He had taken off his white coat and was wearing a button-down shirt with a heavy winter coat and hat.
I was on my way for a bite to eat, the doctor said, before I take the evening shift. We're always short-handed here. I saw you out here. I know this is tough, Aiden, but try not to worry. She's going to be fine. The gash will heal, she'll get her strength back, and be as good as new in a few weeks. I know. I'm not worried about the gash. I'm sure you did a great job stitching her up. It's her brain, her memory, her that I'm worried about. What if she never remembers who I am? Maybe I've lost her forever. I had so many plans.
Stay hopeful, Aiden, Dr. Taggart said, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. Many times, amnesia from an accident or a catastrophic event will eventually fade, and your memories will return. Aiden gave a short laugh.
From your mouth to God's ears,
he said, sounding more abrupt than he wanted to, but he couldn't stop himself. He'd never been this despondent in his life. Chapter 9. Lily. Lily exhaled and tried not to worry about that man, Aiden, who seemed so unhappy, so confused, so miserable. That last adjective was the right word. Welcome to the club, she wanted to say to him. Her head throbbed, the world was fuzzy, and she was tired, so very tired.
Starry Skies B&B, right? The Uber driver said, flipping on the radio.
Yes. Lily certainly didn't want to make conversation, so even though the loud music from the radio annoyed her a bit, she didn't tell him to turn it off. Instead, she stared out the window. The late afternoon sun was sinking behind the mountains. She had the impression she'd been up in the mountains recently, but she couldn't recall anything specific other than blinding snow and a tree barreling toward her like a freight train. The next thing she knew, she was lying in a hospital bed. Pressing her nose to the cold window glass, Lily gazed at the shops on Main Street. There was Dove's hardware and grocery store, Tina's bakery, then a sign to the west for the rodeo grounds, and Snow Valley High School. Go Bighorns! When she spotted Big C's Burgers, she turned her head to stare at the restaurant as the car kept driving. The place made her smile as she remembered Big C's perfect, juicy hamburgers with thick, homemade, seasoned fries. She must have memories there, but any moments with friends or family had been grayed out of her mind. Her stomach growled. She was starving. She couldn't remember the last time she ate today. Next, she spied the Coffee Loft shop. Its sign read, "Special on lattes. perform your best dance moves, and win a free cup of coffee. I work there, she suddenly cried out. Lily was so relieved to remember something that tears pricked her eyelids.
I thought you looked kind of familiar, her driver said. He chuckled to himself. Huh, I'm driving the Coffee Loft manager.
Near the end of Main Street, the Snow Valley Community Church appeared with its funny sayings on the signboard, stuck into the grass next to the sidewalk. Today it read, "Pretend we're Walmart and come on inside." That was pretty funny. So, where was Walmart? Lily couldn't remember. Snow Valley was too small for a big box store. Maybe it was in the next town, down the highway, although for the life of her, Lily couldn't remember the name of it at the moment. In fact, everything seemed different, felt different, like the town was off, fuzzier or more shadowy, or more something. Lily couldn't put her finger on it, but the world was hazy and distant, even though she kept turning her head to stare out the window as if she'd never seen her hometown before. The sight of the final town sign was enough to make Lily sit up with a start. Leaving Snow Valley, come back and visit soon. The Uber driver maneuvered the car off the highway and onto a dirt road that appeared to go nowhere. "What are you doing?" she cried. "Where are you taking me?" "Relax," her driver said, turning the car's steering wheel while they bumped through some potholes. "This is the road to the B&B. It's just on the outskirts of town. It's a big old house from the first settlers in this area back in the 1800s. Some big cattle rancher that struck oil and built a big mansion house." "Oh," Lily murmured, pressing a hand to her stomach to calm her nerves. She was in the twilight zone. That was it. Everything was much too strange, like she didn't belong here. But where did she belong? Lily tried not to cry out with each bump in the road and sat back, closing her eyes as the sun disappeared behind the mountain peak to the north. She tried to think of a good memory. It took a moment of letting herself relax, at pushing away the pain at the back of her head, including the fear of her Uber driver, which was probably overly exaggerated, but for some reason she felt a little paranoid right now. That was probably emanating from the head injury. A sense of warmth came from a sudden memory of a roaring fire and hot cocoa, with marshmallows. But the person next to her was merely a shadow, not a real person, not anybody she actually knew. The puzzling memory faded as Lily spotted lights coming on from distant houses. Folks who lived outside of town. The B&B wasn't completely isolated. She shook her head, but she already knew that. "Here we are." The driver stopped in front of the Victorian mansion. Lights blazed in the dormer windows and two lovely bay windows with lace curtains, one in the drawing room and the other in the formal dining room. An inviting white porch with rocking chairs and flower pots, and strings of lights across the rooftop that created a nostalgic, cozy setting. Lily breathed a sigh of relief. She couldn't wait to climb into a bed. Any bed. She hadn't felt this wiped out since she was a teenager and slept until noon on her Saturday mornings. "Thank you," she told the driver, fumbling for her credit card stuck in the slot inside her cell phone case. "That other guy already paid," the driver reminded her. "Oh, yes, I forgot," Lily murmured, wondering who the other guy was that he was referring to. Then she remembered that big mountain man in his flannel shirt and coat, the nicely trimmed beard. He had been incredibly good-looking. She also remembered his forlorn eyes. And Bullet, his dog, a beautiful German shepherd. But it still puzzled her how she knew the dog but not the man. With the large full moon rising over the mountains, it was freezing outside, and Lily hurried, as much as she was able, up the porch steps and rang the doorbell. But she didn't wait for someone to answer because this was a B&B, and the foyer and front desk were immediately inside. Besides, January in Montana was not a month to hang around outdoors after the sun went down. With each passing second, she was getting colder and colder. As soon as she closed the front door behind her, she heard the Uber driver crunch his way down the gravel driveway and disappear into the night. Lily sagged against the heavy oak door and breathed a sigh of relief. This place was gorgeous, historic, and warm, and not just the temperature. Reina Kinsella was one of her mother's oldest friends from high school and kept a beautiful, historic establishment. A moment later, she heard a woman's voice upstairs. "Lily, is that you?" "Yep, it's me." Lily cleared her dry throat. It had been a long afternoon of barely any sustenance or water despite the little she'd drunk with the meds at the hospital. And she was extremely tired. Beyond tired. So tired she just wanted to lay down under a warm comforter and sleep forever. Like Sleeping Beauty. In fact, with every passing hour, Lily felt like she had been cursed just like Aurora. How could this be happening to her? Why? How would she get her memory back? Why was the world cloudy and foggy, even when a hazy winter sun had been shining earlier when she arrived at the hospital? Reina jumped down the last step of the polished mahogany staircase and gathered Lily up into her arms, holding her close. "Oh, darling girl, how are you? I've been so worried all afternoon. I'm so glad you're here, and I plan to mother you to death." Lily held the woman in return. She was so warm, so comforting. Then she winced when a searing pain shot through the back of her head. "Let me take a look at that," Reina murmured. She inspected Lily's gash, noting that the bleeding was seeping through the gauze. "I'm going to redo this bandage. The doctor's cut a bit of your hair away to secure it. This will take 5 minutes, and then I'm going to feed you dinner and tuck you into bed. You need rest." "Are you saying I have a bald spot?" Lily said, aghast. "That's terrible." No, Reina said soothingly. "Just a tiny one, really. The rest of your hair covers it up." "Honestly, I'm not in any pain other than a headache and fatigue." "You've had a huge shock, but you know where you are, right? You recognize me?" "Of course," Lily said slowly. "Although the world looks weird, kind of like a fuzzy movie that's out of focus." "But you remember Doc Taggart and you recognize the town?" "Yes, but there was this one man who kept hanging around staring at me. He thought he knew me, but of course, he doesn't. I mean, if he knows me, then I should know him, right?" "Of course," Reina said, studying Lily gently. "And maybe you do know him, you just can't quite remember right now because you're still traumatized and in pain. Give it time. Maybe give him a chance down the road?" "Why give him a chance if he's a stranger?" Lily asked. "Am I missing something? Is there something you're not telling me?" Reina waved a casual hand. "Sweetheart, there's no need to discuss anything tonight. There's plenty of time tomorrow. You have had quite a rough day. I have a bowl of my homemade chicken noodle soup and hot rolls ready for you, and then I'm tucking you into bed." "I'm not 8 years old," Lily said with a laugh. "Speaking of bed tucking, where is Wade Jr. and Caitlin?" "The little darlings had a long afternoon at their skiing lessons and practically fell asleep over supper. I managed to coerce them into bed before you arrived." "I'm having a hard time believing they're 8 and 10. Weren't they toddlers last year?" "Time is a funny thing. Honestly, they're probably still awake reading in bed." Lily smothered a yawn, causing the back of her head to ache. "I'll catch them in the morning." "Right now, you are coming with me, sweetheart." In the next 15 minutes, Reina had cleaned up the wound and applied a patch of fresh gauze. "It's fairly small, only about 5 to 6 inches. It should heal in about a week. Doc Taggart is good at what he does. Did he give you any antibiotics to take with you or painkillers?" "I took some at the hospital and they gave me another couple of doses for tomorrow, but after that I'll be out. I'll need to get to the pharmacy soon." Lily said as she finished eating her soup. She tore a roll into pieces and ate them with dabs of butter. This was delicious, thank you. I'll get some water from the kitchen and head to bed. I can hardly stand up any longer. Raina wrapped her arms around Lily and held her tight, brushing a kiss on her forehead. Her motherly instinct was strong. She was 40 years old when she and Wade Sr. finally tied the knot and her children came quickly. Lily had heard about the harrowing night of Wade Jr.'s birth in a massive snowstorm a decade earlier. She had barely made it to the hospital and immediately given birth in the lobby. "Where is Wade tonight?" "He's down at the fire station, on call until morning. His team will be up in the mountains the next few days doing fire checks from lightning strikes from that big storm a few days ago." Raina paused, taking Lily by the hand and leading her upstairs to one of the guest rooms. "I have a spare room right now, but in a few days I'll be booked full of snow skiers coming into town. By then your mother should be here. In fact, I'm putting you into the hidden Lily suite, made just for you, darlin'." Lily smiled. "I'd forgotten you had a room with my name on it." Raina put an arm around her shoulder. "It has been a long time since you worked part-time here doing housekeeping for me. You were a college freshman, right?" "I was. It doesn't seem that long ago, but when I think of the past, it's like a shadow I can't pin down." Raina chuckled. "More than a decade, honey. When I was pregnant with Wade Jr., we did a big remodel to add a nursery." Lily was about to say something more, but she stepped over the threshold of the room, holding on to the door jamb to steady herself. "Wow, this room is gorgeous," she breathed. And it was. Victorian with beautiful gold wallpaper, a fireplace, a 4-poster bed, luxurious rugs, and heavy green brocade draperies over the curved windows. When Lily got ready for bed, she stared into the bathroom mirror. Is this what she really looked like? Her skin was gray, makeup smudged in dark circles around her eyes, lips dry and cracked. Lily wanted to cry. Why hadn't anyone told her how terrible she looked? What was stranger still was that Raina seemed older than she recalled, and her children were older too. And yet, that brawny logger stared at her like she was the most beautiful woman in the world. He must be blind, or deranged. Closing her eyes, Lily conjured him up in her mind, daydreaming about running her fingers through his hair, along his soft bearded cheek, checking out his endless muscles. She blinked into the bathroom mirror. What was she doing? The man was a complete stranger. Her thoughts reminded her of being a teenager in high school when she and her girlfriends talked about all the boys in their classes every day. Her own face seemed older now, too. Heavens to Betsy, she had a couple of teeny tiny wrinkles around her eyes. Lily grabbed her cell phone, flipped open the case, and stared at her driver's license. She sucked in a breath. This was very peculiar. Her license showed that she was closer to 30 than 20. Where had the last several years gone? Had she gone through some sort of time warp today? All at once, Lily leaned against the sink, taking deep breaths to avoid a panic attack. A tear rolled down her cheek. This new world was confusing, off balance, as if she couldn't walk straight, think straight. Lily swore she'd fallen into a mud pit that was sucking her down into despair. Chapter 10. Lily. Lily spent the day after the hospital sleeping, waking up only to take her meds that Raina picked up for her at the pharmacy. The world was a haze of gray and headaches, but sleeping in the big, comfortable 4-poster bed in that beautiful Victorian room was heaven. Pure heaven to lie in bed for 24 hours. Heaven not to worry about her job or obligations. Or there was something else, or someone else, that was a shadow in the far reaches of her brain, Someone she knew, someone who was probably worried about her. But she couldn't figure out exactly what her brain was trying to remember or tell her. When she rolled over on the second full morning of taking it easy, rays of weak sunshine peeked through the slits in the brocade draperies. Without moving, Lily blinked at the clock in disbelief. It was nearly noon. She stared at the clock's calendar for a moment. 3 days ago had been the accident, and she was finally feeling better and getting her strength back. She lay there for a few extra moments, enjoying the soft, comfy bed along with the utter stillness. The joy of not having to rush, of not having to go to work. No, wait, that wasn't right. Work! She was supposed to be at work. What day was it? She was supposed to be back at work today. She was fairly sure. Because yesterday was a day off, right? Make that 2 days ago. Today was the 3rd day since she went up to... Where? The mountains? The accident? It had all become a blur to her. However, her brain was beginning to lose a little bit of the haze of pain and trauma. Was there a crowd at the door of the store at this very moment? For heaven's sake, what was it called? Some kind of drink shop? A coffee shop? But she could not for the life of her remember the actual store name. Finally, it came to her. Coffee Loft. Okay, phew. Maybe she'd slept too long and her brain had permanently shut down. A few minutes later, she detected the faint sound of voices downstairs. Sleep had helped. Her brain seemed clearer. The frantic panic from yesterday had subsided. But the headache remained. Even so, it wasn't as painful as it had been. Gingerly, she touched a finger to the back of her hair, then looked at it. No blood. The stitches appeared to be intact under the bandage. No smears of dried blood on her pillow either. A good sign. Reaching for her cell phone, Lily scrolled through her contacts until she found the number for one of the upper executives, a woman named Anne, and discovered a text from her while she'd been sleeping. Heard about the accident. I have subs for the rest of the week. Relax and get better soon. Phew! That was a relief. Taking it slowly, Lily swung her legs over the bed and sat for a minute until the initial dizziness stopped. Okay, that wasn't too bad. On the nightstand, she spotted the glass of water Raina had given her the previous evening, plus the prescriptions Doc Taggart had sent to the pharmacy. She popped an antibiotic and one of the painkillers. Hopefully, she wouldn't have to take the latter for more than another few days. This bedroom suite was so peaceful and beautiful, she was tempted to crawl back under the covers and take a nap, but her stomach growled. Since she had to walk through the public downstairs rooms to get to the dining room, she'd better put on some clothes. After a shower. The steaming hot water was soothing, and Lily took care to gently wash her hair around the stitches that appeared to be healing. A blow-dryer and her styling brush did the trick. Her hair looked more normal, and she slowly combed it out without ripping the tiny stitches. Somehow, Raina had managed to snag a small suitcase from her apartment and pack some fresh clothes for her. She must have done that last night after Lily dropped into bed and instantly became dead to the world. That woman worked miracles, even while raising 2 rambunctious children and running a bed and breakfast hotel. After dressing in a fresh pair of jeans and a sweater top, Lily was ready to face the day. Walking downstairs, Lily breathed in the lemon oil, the scent of antiques and home-cooked food. All the little things about the B&B brought back memories from when she worked here long ago, but so many parts were still missing. Her memory was so random it was frustrating. "Good morning, sweetheart," Raina said cheerfully when Lily entered the empty dining room. "I saved you a plate of breakfast. The Starry Skies Big Sky Breakfast." "Oh, wow, this looks fantastic. Thank you. I'm starving," Lily said, her stomach growling again. "That's an excellent sign," Raina said. coming over and briefly holding a hand against Lily's cheek and then her forehead. "No fever." Lily frowned. "Why would I have a fever?" "Trauma can cause the body to go a little wacky. That and it's a sign of infection. You have neither, thank goodness." "Maybe no infection, but the wacky angle is still up for debate," Lily retorted, her mouth twisting into a sideways smile. Raina chuckled. "That's my girl. You still have your sense of humor." As soon as Lily picked up her fork, she devoured the breakfast. Fluffy pancakes, sausage and bacon, a buttermilk biscuit with homemade jam and real butter, plus a bowl of fruit and a glass of milk and cranberry juice. "I am stuffed," she declared when she finished and took her plate to the sink to wash in the fluffy white suds. "What's on the docket today, darlin'?" Raina asked, jotting a grocery list on the other end of the table. "When I first woke up, I was disoriented, but I got a notification on my phone that I have an appointment with that psychiatrist Dr. Taggart set up for me." "Good," Raina said in a matter-of-fact tone. "I'm glad you're going to see someone so you can get your life reoriented after such a terrible accident. By the way, I was going to drive into Billings to pick up your mother at the airport," Lily protested. "That's a generous offer, but that's a long drive both directions, and I know you're busy getting ready for guests. Although I can help." "You are not doing any housework until you heal. But I have news, my dear. Your mother phoned while you were sleeping. I didn't want to wake you, and neither did she. There's no need to drive to the airport. North Dakota's Minot International Airport is socked in with a major winter blizzard, and all planes are grounded. Your mother is stuck. She barely made it back home from the airport. Your father had to go rescue her on the highway." "Oh no! Are they okay?" Lily asked, shocked at the news. "They're perfectly safe and sound back home. I'll be your surrogate mother, and I insist that you stay here as long as you need to while you heal, sweetheart." "Didn't you say that you have so many guests coming in for the ski resort that you'll be full the next week?" "Yes, but I've made arrangements for some of the extra people to stay at the Snow Valley Inn on Main, at least for a night or two." She gave Lily a wry grin. "They're getting a great deal. A free room there for the inconvenience. Martha and I are splitting the cost." "You are too good to me. Honestly, I can go back to my apartment." "Well, I'd like you to stay another couple of nights." Lily gave her a sideways look, a hand on her hip. "I'm perfectly fine, see?" Raina got busy washing dishes and wiping the counters. Lily stood in front of her for a moment, arms folded. "Tell me the truth." Okay. Doc Taggart called me this morning and wants me to hang on to you for a little while until you've seen Dr. Mitchell a couple of times. We want to make sure there are no other side effects from your concussion." "I'm perfectly fine," Lily protested. "Everyone is treating me like a child." Raina lowered her voice and said softly, "You're having memory loss, honey. It's very much like amnesia. We all want to make sure it's just temporary." Lily pressed her hand to her forehead, tears prickling her eyes. She had a headache, but nothing more. Quietly, she said, "I don't feel like I have amnesia. I know you, and my parents, and Doc Taggart. Am I acting weird or something?" "A little, but nothing to get all worked up about, sweetheart. Last night you were dizzy and disoriented. You slept for 15 hours, and you didn't recognize Aiden." "Aiden who?" Raina gave her a small smile. "Aiden Quinn, the logger guy." "But he's just some guy. I've never met him before in my life." Raina's brows wrinkled and she frowned. "You've known him for a long time. You both grew up here, even though you were never in the same class or in high school at the same time. But now he's more than a friend. He's someone very special. In fact, we all love Aiden. He's the best. Give you the shirt off his back. Help you fix your car, no questions asked. Pull you out of a snowdrift. Call you when you're sick." "He hasn't called me," Lily protested. "He just hung around the hospital like a lost puppy." "I beg to differ. He's already called 5 times this morning while I was serving breakfast to my guests." "What?"
It's true, honey. Aiden is worried about you. He loves you terribly.
He, wait a minute. Did you say he loves me? That's impossible.
Raina's lips twitched. Nope, not impossible. You love him too. That stopped Lily in her tracks. She tore at the seam of a dish towel, not looking at Raina for several moments. He is pretty good looking, she finally admitted. But there is no way I'd love a man I don't even know. It's just weird to think that someone I don't know feels that way about me. Lily studied Raina. The older woman looked as if she had 100 things she'd like to say. You may not remember this, Lily, Raina finally said quietly, but you were up at Aiden's cabin when the accident happened.
Lily shook her head. I couldn't have been. That just seems wrong. I'd never go to a stranger's house.
It was a terrible freak accident, and Aiden is beside himself with worry and guilt.
Lily finally let the towel drop to the counter and turned away. This was all too much to process.
Aiden will be here in a few minutes.
Lily whirled around, panicked. He's coming here? Why? She was perturbed that Raina, whom she adored, was interfering in her life. She could make her own decisions. She wasn't an invalid.
You can be angry with me if you'd like, Raina said gently, but I'm getting rooms ready for new guests, and you need a ride to the doctor's office. It's all settled. Aiden is your ride.
I can catch an Uber like last night.
You're not working at the moment, so a ride with Aiden saves you money, and he'll wait for you and bring you back here.
Lily blinked at her and went upstairs to grab her jacket. While there, her cell phone rang, startling her. It was her mother, so she pressed video to talk face to face.
Hi, Mom.
Sweetheart, her mother exclaimed. Oh, it's so good to see your face, honey. I've been worrying about you every single minute. How are you feeling?
I'm okay,
Lily said slowly, trying to figure out if she really was okay or in a fog. Or a daydream. Another world? Because her world was off kilter right now, not normal, more like a hazy mist. But I think my head is healing. Not bleeding any longer. Sore, of course, and kind of throbbing, especially when I'm laying down. I've been so worried about you. Were you able to sleep last night? Lily nodded. I took a pain pill and a sleeping pill, so that helped a lot. You sound a bit distant, honey. Are you sure you're okay? If it wasn't for this huge, wild blizzard, I'd already be landing in Billings soon and driving out to you. At first, Lily didn't answer. All she could do was stare at her mother's image. It was the strangest thing, but her mother seemed older than she remembered. The slight wrinkles had deepened. Her hair was a bit grayer, her eyes not quite as green and perky, more washed out. This weird phenomenon was happening to everyone she knew. Lots of novels and movies contained plots about characters going back in time, but it was like Lily had gone forward to the future. Or maybe her brain was more broken than she thought. After a few more minutes of chit-chat, Lily said goodbye and quickly dialed the number for an Uber, grabbed her stuff, and slinked down the staircase while Raina was in the kitchen. She appeared to be talking to someone. A male voice replied. The voice was familiar. And then she realized it was that Aiden dude. She certainly did not want to run into him. Slowly, she slipped out the front door and carefully used the hand railing to get down the porch steps so she wouldn't take a tumble, then walked to the road at a slow pace. Glancing behind her, Lily hoped Raina hadn't heard the door to the B&B close. And she hoped the Uber wasn't late. Nope. Perfect timing. The Uber arrived almost immediately. This time she had a new driver, not the silent, distracted young man from the hospital parking lot. Instead, her driver was a young woman named Beth who talked and talked the entire way to the doctor's office. After Beth tapped Lily's credit card on her credit card reader, she asked, "Do you need me to pick you up after your appointment?" "I don't think so," Lily said, "but I'll call if I change my mind." "Here's my business card," Beth said, handing it over. For some reason, Lily craved freedom. She wouldn't make any future plans until this appointment was over. Hurrying inside the plain brown building of offices to get away from the cold, she found the correct door and checked in with the receptionist. After filling out some paperwork, it didn't take long before Lily was ushered into the psychiatrist's office. Lily sank onto the soft couch while Dr. Mitchell took a seat in a chair. She grabbed one of the small pillows from the corner of the sofa and stuck it on her lap, wrapping her arms around it. For some reason, she was cold, despite the scarf around her neck and the thick sweater under her jacket. The psychiatrist watched her movements with interest, but Lily wasn't going to let him intimidate her. The only reason she was here was because Doc Taggart, whom she'd known since childhood and trusted, had set it up. The white walls seemed to close in on her. The doctor's face was kind, but she could see the concerned crease forming between his brows. Lily squinted at the photo on his desk, trying to make out the faces of his family, but they were all a bit fuzzy and too far away. A wife? 2 boys? The psychiatrist's eyes showed concern as he listened to her story of the accident. Dr. Mitchell recapped it. So you were in the mountains, playing in the snow, and a runaway log caught you in the back of the head before you could outrun it. She nodded. That's right. Was anyone else there? Lily fidgeted in her seat, her fingers grazing the rough fabric of the chair's armrests. She felt a slight throbbing in her head, a constant reminder of the accident that caused the world to appear fuzzy and confusing. At times, her own skin felt foreign, almost as if she was living the life of someone else. I don't remember. However, there was a German shepherd. His name is Bullet. He dug me out of the snow. Can you describe what the world looked like? Lily wrapped her arms around herself, trying to comfort the aching knot in her chest. Her reality was a blur of twisted timelines and fractured memories. My memories are splintered, she tried to explain. Twisting this way and that. The world is shadowy, although I remember that the snow blinded me. Did that hinder you trying to escape the log tumbling down the hillside toward you? I never thought about that. But this other stuff happened afterward. Later, after I woke up in the hospital. All the pieces don't quite fit. Dr. Mitchell thought for a moment before replying. The mind, or rather our memories, can be fragmented as broken glass. It can take time and patience to put all the pieces back together. I wish my brain would hurry up, Lily said with a small laugh. It's driving me nuts. Would you like to know my theory? A small one. And of course, I could be wrong, the doctor said with a sympathetic smile. Like what? Lily said. What are you talking about? Dr. Mitchell cleared his throat. I believe that your amnesia is a protective shield. Your amnesia is the mechanism that is hiding the pain of the accident, as well as some of the things you still don't remember. I don't think I'm doing that. Why would I? I hate being confused. It's very frustrating. I'm sure it is. And you're right, it is frustrating. Don't blame yourself. But all of your memories will return. I'm fairly confident of that. Try not to worry. 99% of all amnesia eventually lessens and goes away. If you can figure out what you're subconsciously afraid of, that will help your healing, and your memory will begin to return. I'm going to hold you to it, Doc, Lily told him. A small laugh slipped past her lips. It was part joking, but also part terror that her life would never feel normal again. As if the psychiatrist could read her mind, he added, Get plenty of rest. You've had a big trauma and you're still healing physically, and that never helps. Do some of the normal things you do every day. Things that bring you joy and calmness. Drink water, no alcohol. No worries there, I hate the taste. Is my Dr. Pepper okay? He chuckled. Yes, of course. Since it's winter time, some soothing teas and hot cocoa also help. Do I need to come back? Lily asked. She wasn't sure her insurance from work would cover mental health visits.
I think you're doing remarkably well considering the trauma and injury. Take things one day at a time, and if you have questions or would like to discuss anything, just call and make an appointment. For now, let's schedule an appointment for 1 week from today, and we can assess again at that time. I predict you will feel much better.
That sounds good.
One last question, if I may, Dr. Mitchell said before Lily rose from the sofa. Have you resolved things with your boyfriend, or significant other, as we often say these days? I understand he was there the day of the accident.
What? Lily blinked. Why does everybody keep talking about some phantom man I can't remember? I don't think I have a boyfriend, not since college. And now, I can't remember who that was either. That is so weird. It's frustrating.
I'm sure it is frustrating. Can you picture him in your mind? Does he have a name?
Lily shook her head. No, I can't picture him.
There's no name, no memories.
Are you sure you're not trying to make up someone? As in, everybody dates various people in college?
No. Dr. Mitchell shook his head. I'm not referring to anyone in particular from your university years. Just thought there might be someone that would reveal a clue about how far back your memory loss goes.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean. I remember my family and friends. I remember my work schedule. I remember my college roommate, Mary Ann.
That's good. You're making progress. I'll walk you out, Lily. Here's my card. If you need anything, please call.
Chapter 11. Lily. A few minutes later, Lily stood on the sidewalk, trying to remember where her car was located. After searching the parking lot for much too long, she finally remembered. "Oh yeah," she said aloud. "I took an Uber." Chuckling to herself, she was about to call another Uber, then changed her mind. Holding a hand over her eyes, she could see the Coffee Loft sign a few blocks away. Easy walking distance. She'd go there, unwind, get a hot drink, then return to the Starry Skies B&B. As soon as she'd made her decision, an invisible weight lifted from her shoulders and a marvelous sensation of freedom rushed over her. Wow, nobody was watching her any longer. She could do whatever she wanted. 10 minutes later, when Lily finally arrived at the shop, she was freezing. 20 degrees was cold, especially on a cloudy day. She wished she'd brought a thicker knit hat and gloves, and her warmer boots. Hurrying through the double-glass doors, the bell above the door jangled its little tune. Oh, she'd almost forgotten the cute sound it made when a customer came in. Visions of customers opening the door and dancing suddenly sprang into her mind. She could actually picture it in her head, as if it really happened. That was weird. Why would someone who wanted a hot drink or a donut walk into a coffee shop and do that? Most people would be mortified to walk into any store dancing to their favorite music on their cell phones, unless they were exhibitionists. The woman at the counter called out a hello when Lily stepped inside the warm and aromatic coffee shop. "Hey, Lily, how are you? I'm Angie, your fill-in sub." Lily bit her lips. "Are you the one replacing Allison while she's away at school for the semester?" "No, not exactly. That's a gal named Karen. She'll be doing the late afternoon and evening shifts. I got called to start earlier when we heard about your accident. I hope you heal quickly. How are you today? I'm kind of surprised to see you up and about." "I had a doctor's appointment and now I'm starving. I thought there was someone else subbing temporarily while I'm on medical leave for the next week." "Originally, I was supposed to start next week, but the bosses called and asked if I could come early since you're recovering." Lily gave a small laugh. "Okay, now I get it." She placed her gloves against her cold cheeks, trying to warm up. The coffee shop was deliciously warm and smelled like cinnamon and sugar. Angie came out from around the corner and gave Lily a big hug. Then she stepped back and studied her, looking Lily up and down with a frown. "Did you walk here?" She nodded. "I was just up the road at an appointment, so I thought I'd stop in before heading home." Of course, she hadn't actually been home, her apartment, since the accident. Lily glanced around the shop. "This might sound funny, but I actually miss being here. This place is kind of like a second home." "We miss you too," Angie told her. "I hope you're getting better every day." "I think so," Lily said vaguely. She wasn't in the mood to go into details. The conversation with the psychiatrist had worn her out. "It's nice to be missed," she said instead. "I'll take a lofty-sized cocoa with the large marshmallows and a smidge of extra cream." "Perfect. Coming right up. This is a good time to hang out. It's quiet right now. People are at work, the lunch hour's over, and schools haven't dismissed yet." "Guess I did something right," Lily quipped back, although Angie had a confused expression on her face when she said it. She picked up the mug of steaming chocolate and turned to find a table. There were 2 teenagers making eyes at each other, a college-aged man busily writing or doing math. Thinking about math right now made Lily's head hurt. Her stomach also growled in protest. "Hey, Angie, I'll take a grilled cheese and ham sandwich too. Extra cheese. I'm starving." "Give me 5 minutes. I'll bring it to your table." For some reason, Lily's eyes kept going to the far corner table, like it was a magnet reaching out and forcing her to choose that table. She must have sat there a lot in the past because the idea of the cozy nook made her smile. A surge of warmth rose in her chest. Walking slowly with her lofty-sized cocoa so as not to spill, Lily sat down and slid into the center of the cushioned bench, keeping her hands wrapped around the mug for its soothing warmth. She sagged against the comfy soft cushions, closed her eyes, and let out a breath of relief. Okay, the meeting with the doctor went decently well. He didn't have any real answers, but she could stop worrying that her life was over. She wasn't crazy, and she hadn't lost her brain when that log knocked her unconscious. Lily shivered, remembering the unbearable cold. Her face smashed into the icy snow, numb and unable to move. Was that a dream, a nightmare, or an actual memory? It was so foggy and indistinct she wasn't sure. That was the worst part of this memory loss. She wasn't sure of anything. Where did the log everybody kept talking about come from anyway? A tree that suddenly uprooted and fell on her? That still didn't make sense. She wished she could shake her head and fix all the discombobulated memories into the correct order. It was all a jumble. Stray pieces, snatches of images and conversations. Raina's voice spoke inside her head as Lily slowly sipped the hot drink. "He's already called 5 times this morning. Aiden is worried about you. He loves you. Terribly." He loved her? Was he a longtime crush? Or a long-ago date? What was their actual relationship? Lily wasn't sure she could believe anybody. She wanted to know the truth. Raina's matter-of-fact voice whispered in her ear again. "Nope, not impossible. You love him too." It was a life she didn't remember, a relationship she didn't recognize. Angie appeared at her elbow and set down a plate. "Here's your grilled cheese, sweetie. Anything else? A fresh batch of donuts just got delivered." Lily clapped her hands. "Ooh, yes. I'll take a maple bar with pecans, a glazed cinnamon roll, and a sugared twist." Angie gave a chuckle. "Sounds like you're hungry." "Is 3 too many?" Lily asked. It had never occurred to her before. "How many donuts do other people usually order?" Angie gave a small laugh. One, usually. Normally. Unless they're really hungry," she added quickly. "As I recall, you do have a sweet tooth." "Then I'll take the 3 I mentioned. I am starving. It was a long morning. Angie's eyes lit up as if ready for some gossip. Did you do anything fun or interesting? Lily paused, unexpectedly baffled. Staring down at her sandwich, she tried to remember the morning's events. Oh, yeah, the doctor. Well, a psychiatrist. For someone who had mental problems. Lily thought that would never happen to her. It still hadn't. Everyone else was confused. Except, she had to admit that she'd had moments of confusion. Her memory had temporarily stopped working. I had a doctor appointment, she finally said. That's all. But they always make me hungry for some reason. Okay, that was a lame comment, but Lily just smiled at Angie, who didn't seem to think that was odd at all. Enjoy your lunch, but don't go into a sugar coma. The bell on the door rang. Oops, customers, Angie said gaily, scooting back to the counter. Lily devoured her hot sandwich, moaning in ecstasy. The Coffee Loft made the best toasted sandwiches ever. In addition to the hot, melted cheddar, there was pastrami and ham on a thick marbled rye bread. As soon as she finished, she dove into the donuts that Angie had delivered while Lily was devouring her sandwich. She'd also brought a refill of her mug of cocoa at some point. The sugar high was real. Lily loved it. She wouldn't even need to eat dinner later. When she finished wolfing down her third donut, she stared at the donut case across the room while she finished drinking the last of her cocoa. A shadow loomed over her, blocking the pale winter sun shining through the window. Lily glanced up and froze. It was a man. A big, burly hunk of a man with shoulders as wide as the Montana skies and a perfect smile that sparkled in the sunlight. She gulped. Yes, can I help you? His smile softened. I do believe you have the biggest sweet tooth I've ever seen. Just then, Angie brought over the eclair Lily had been eyeing. It was covered in chocolate icing and cream oozed out the corners. Dang, woman, you know how to put it away, the man said, chuckling now. I was hungry, Lily said, giving him a look. Don't judge. I'll run it off later. Well, maybe tomorrow. The mountain man laughed again, but Lily could tell he wasn't laughing at her. She couldn't think of the right word to describe his expression. His voice softened. No, I'm not laughing at you. I'm impressed. Can I join you with my sandwich and donut? Although I think you might be able to eat me under the table. Lily's heart pounded harder as she tried to act nonchalant and indifferent to his ruggedly handsome looks. Well, I was just about to leave. Sort of. I'm so stuffed I may have to get Angie to roll me out the door. Plus, I still need to call an Uber. I don't have a vehicle in the parking lot. Where are you going? Well, I haven't decided yet. Maybe back to the B&B, but I haven't been to my apartment for days. I'd better make sure none of my pipes froze. I could check those for you, he offered. I don't know you. Why would I let you into my house? Stranger danger. I'm not that naive. Angie showed up with another refill of her hot cocoa. She plopped 3 more giant marshmallows on top. Everything okay here? Let me know if you need anything else with your food, sir. Looks like I'm waitressing today, filling orders and cooking. At least it's not busy, Lily said lamely. But thank you, Angie. You're a doll. She took a tiny bite of her eclair and moaned in ecstasy all over again. By the way, do you know this guy? Angie stared at her like she'd gone insane. What? Are you serious? This is Aiden Quinn. You two have been friends for years. Lily blinked. No way. I've never seen him before. In reality, she was fibbing. This was the guy hanging around the hospital a few days ago. This was the Aiden Quinn everybody seemed to know and love. Except her. Except that she was supposed to know him and love him. If that didn't make a girl go nuts, what would? Honey, Angie said softly, are you okay? I did have an accident a few days ago. I just don't remember much about it. It's all a foggy blur, just a bunch of pain and confusion. Whoa. Angie's eyes widened. You mean you're having amnesia on top of the injury to your head? I hadn't heard that part. I'm sorry, I don't really feel like talking about it. It's been a strange few days. I guess so, but I can assure you that everyone in town knows Aiden and we all think he's the greatest. Back in December, he pulled my car out of a snowbank, drove it to the shop, and helped me get home again.
Aiden shrugged his shoulders. It was nothing. Snow Valley people do that sort of thing all the time.
Enjoy your food, Angie called out, heading back to the counter where a line began forming. Lily lifted her eyes to the guy everyone called Aiden. Aiden Quinn. Was that familiar? She wasn't sure, but maybe from a long time ago? Taking tiny bites of her eclair to make it last longer, she finally said, Okay, don't just stand there. You can sit down.
You do know this is my regular table, right?
He said, a grin on his face. Well, excuse me, sir. Please take your table.
It's actually our regular table,
he added quietly.
When you were working your shift, you'd sit across from me on your break, and we'd drink hot cocoa and share a donut and talk for a bit. Speaking of donuts, your sweet tooth is off the charts, woman.
Lily gave a nervous laugh. Okay, 4 donuts may be a bit excessive, but you don't have to rub it in, she said, despite her lips twitching with mirth. It was kind of embarrassing that she was eating so many donuts. My taste buds are kind of off.
You're allowed as many donuts as you want,
he said gently, gazing into her eyes with a sweetness and concern that was touching.
You've had a pretty terrible week.
Lily went quiet for a moment, watching his face while an inexplicable and peculiar sensation rushed down her neck. We did? Really? I mean, we had lunch and snacks together?
Yep. Last time I was here, 3 days ago, before we went up to the mountains for our snow day, I walked through those glass doors dancing to Van Halen.
Lily blinked, staring at him sideways. You danced? To get a free drink? For the Coffee Loft promo? Shaking her head, she whispered, That was you? His expression was soft and tender.
The one and only Aiden Quinn.
Is that why this table was luring me to sit here? Lily shook her head and rolled her eyes at herself. Okay, that probably sounded bizarre, but I kept having the distinct impression this was my table.
Not bizarre at all. 3 days ago, we left here and went up to my cabin to have dinner and a snow day.
You mean breakfast? No. Are you telling me I spent the night? Aiden reached out and lightly touched the back of her hand.
You had your own private room and bathroom. Hey, look out there on the sidewalk.
Lily gulped, trying to take in what he was telling her. Part of her life had literally been erased. Were she and Aiden just friends? Or more? She was so shocked by the revelation that she couldn't speak. Instead, Lily turned her head to where this guy was pointing. A big monster Hummer truck with huge tires and mud on the side was parked along the curb. A large German shepherd hung partly out the passenger side window, his tongue lolling from his mouth while watching them through the Coffee Loft window. Is that dog watching us?
Of course he is. Because he loves you.
What? That answer was so unexpected, Lily almost fell off her chair. I know him. His name is, Bullet, right? I remember seeing him in the parking lot of the hospital.
That's right. You remember. That's good.
Aiden's features were so relieved that it shocked Lily. Lily shook her head, trying to take it all in. Bullet belongs to you?
I've had him since he was 8 weeks old. You could say we're inseparable.
Aiden paused for a moment, his dark brown eyes gazing powerfully into hers.
Just like you and me.
Chapter 12. Aiden. Lily stared at him across the coffee loft table. Her green eyes were as large as saucers. Are you serious? Aiden figured he needed to be honest, but he didn't want to scare her off.
We've been best friends for a long time, Lily, he said softly. We have a great time together. When we're not working, we spend a lot of time together. Hiking, trying out all 6 of Snow Valley's fine dining restaurants.
Yeah, right, Lily said with a laugh. Then she twisted in her seat and blinked at him. You are joking, aren't you? I hate to think that your idea of fine dining is Big C's burgers, even if they are the best burger this side of the Tetons. Aiden was pleased to see her grin at that, and he chuckled along with her.
Sometimes we go into Bozeman to see a football game or go ice skating, or the movies or a play.
You mean the Bozeman Bobcats? Huh, she added, shaking her head in amusement. I'm impressed that you attend all those refined high society events. And as a tough-and-tumble logger mountain man?
If you call watching an action thriller movie and getting ice cream at Cold Stone Creamery in Helena high society, then I'm your man.
Lily burst into laughter, and the sound was like music to Aiden's ears. This was his Lily. The real Lily, the one he adored and loved to tease.
Do you feel comfortable enough to drive up to my cabin? He asked now. Bullet makes an excellent chaperone, and you can retrieve your belongings.
Lily paused, then gave a small nod. You do come with excellent references.
Aiden chuckled. I'm exceptionally curious now. Can you name names?
Her lips curved into a soft smile, her eyes lifting to his.
Aiden's heart jumped into his throat and lodged like a stuck piece of candy.
Well, everyone really, now that I think about it. Raina at the B&B. My parents said they've known you for years. Doc Taggart, he said you're one of the most trustworthy and hardworking men in Montana. You'd give the shirt off your back for someone in need, and that you have done that in the past. Aiden sat back against the cushioned seat, a bit flabbergasted. He had no idea people said those nice things about him. All he did was try to do the right thing, and it was easy.
People are nice. Sometimes people need help, and some people are often quite hilarious, like Mrs. Snow.
Mrs. Snow is a doll. In what way is she hilarious?
She's going on 90, and she sometimes invites me and my parents for dinner.
Lily frowned. For some reason that sounds familiar. But how is Mrs. Snow funny?
Dinner is usually a ruse. She needs my dad and I to help her around the house. We'd go any time, but we know she has a fresh list scribbled out when the dinner invitation arrives. Via a phone call to my mom, that is. Then we know to pack up our tool bags.
Lily leaned forward, chin in her hand. That's so sweet. You have a great family. Aiden nodded.
My parents love you, too.
Lily's eyebrows shot up, but she didn't seem to be thrown off by his comment. I'm curious, what does Mrs. Snow feed you for dinner?
A rotisserie chicken from the grocery store, along with ready-made stuffing and a pie from the bakery.
Now Lily laughed. That sounds perfect. It's been too long since I've visited her. I'll go soon, on one of my days off. Hey, you could come with me and bring your tool bag. Aiden nodded, his heart springing at how well things were going, that she was inviting him.
It's a deal.
Shake on it, she teased, holding out her hand. Aiden's heart leapt into his throat. He took her hand in his palm, and the touch of her skin just about did him in. He was shocked when Lily held on that extra second too long. "You have nice, warm hands," she whispered. "And big. You can fit my entire hand inside yours with room to spare." Aiden held his breath. The feel of her hand in his, her soft skin practically sent him into orbit. Instead, he cleared his throat and asked,
Are you ready, my lady? The front seat of my truck awaits you, as does a very eager German shepherd who has been staring at us through the window for the last 30 minutes, tongue-drooling.
Lily stifled a giggle. "We mustn't keep Bullet waiting. He's the VIP in our little trio." The Hummer was quiet while Aiden drove Lily up the mountain roads to the cabin. The scene of the crime, he thought uncomfortably. Those images of Lily's face down in the snow, bleeding and unconscious, wouldn't let him go. He had nightmares about it. He hoped she would forgive him, but the terrible memories created anxiety in his gut. Maybe the slight stomach ache was from eating all those donuts he and Lily had shared at the Coffee Loft. Lily was voracious when it came to donuts. He'd never seen anyone put away so many. She'd go into a sugar coma soon. Then she bought a dozen to take with her, and when Aiden teased her about it, she just gave him a sly grin. For Raina and her kiddos.
"Ah, yes, of course," he quipped in return.
20 minutes later, Aiden was opening the front door to the cabin and ushered her inside.
Home sweet home.
Bullet ran circles around Lily, then around Aiden, bumping their knees before racing up and down the hallway, then back again to pant, tongue lolling and whimpering with delight when Lily rubbed his ears. "You are such a good dog, Bullet," Lily said, vigorously rubbing his large and alert ears. She kissed the top of his head, and then the animal raced into the living room where he lay down on the thick rug in front of the fireplace, head up, panting and still excited.
"Make yourself at home,"
Aiden called, lighting the fire he'd already stacked earlier. "Bullet gave me a very warm welcome," Lily said softly, remaining standing in the big room while she gazed in a circle at the wooden beams, the stone fireplace, and the picture windows on 3 sides.
"The view is breathtaking, isn't it?"
Aiden said, finishing up the fire that was growing larger and warming up the room. "It is," Lily agreed. "The forest is such a dark, dramatic green, and the pristine snow lies in sloping hills as far as I can see. It's later than I thought, though. The afternoon sun is fading now." Aiden watched her close her eyes, breathing in the scent of pine and the crackling fire. Her breath caught, and a strange expression crossed her face.
"Are you all right?"
he asked softly, rising to his feet and coming closer. She nodded. "Perfectly all right." Aiden noticed emotion in her eyes and touched her hand with a finger. She didn't jerk away. "Progress? I almost hate to admit it after being so whiny about my lost memory, but this place does feel familiar. I'm just not sure why exactly."
"That's good,"
Aiden said.
"Do you want to come gather up your things that were left in the bedroom? Also known as my office during the rest of the year?"
Lily turned her head to gaze at him. "I kind of knew that." He smiled at her, then led her down the short hallway to the guest room, watching her reaction. Lily let out a small cry. "You were serious! This is my overnight bag. A pair of my jeans and a sweater are hanging on the desk chair." She stepped into the small bathroom just around the corner of the hall, then whirled back to face him, breathing hard. "My makeup bag? My hairbrush? My favorite soap is in the shower? I've been here before." He nodded slowly, elated inside, but remained quiet so he wouldn't disturb the mental adjustments Lily was experiencing. A moment later, she frowned. "But if we came up here for a snow day, where are my snow clothes and boots?"
"You are wearing them at the hospital. I suppose Raina might have cleaned them, and they're at the B&B.
Lily's face cleared. True, that's probably it. Now I remember the nurse, Fiona, retrieving my cell phone to talk to my mother. I've slept a lot the past 2 days.
That's good,
Aiden told her. I am feeling more normal. She lifted her face, staring at him and trying not to flinch or shy away. You and me, we're a thing?
We're whatever you want us to be. But I hope you'll stay a little while longer. I made some orange blossom tea. Let's have a cup and warm up by the fire.
How did you know orange blossom tea is my favorite?
You and I have known each other for a long time. We were best friends before.
He broke off, exiting the guest room and heading down the hallway towards the kitchen. Lily sprinted to catch up, plucking at his thick flannel shirt. Hey, before what? You have to tell me. He smiled at her.
Sit down by the fire. I'll bring out the cups and tea.
A few moments later, Aiden came out of the kitchen to find Lily on one of the sofas, watching the sun sink below the horizon, a ball of fiery yellow. He paused because her mouth had dropped open in wonder. Gorgeous, she breathed.
Yep, pretty gorgeous,
Aiden agreed, gazing at her with appreciation. Lily laughed, shaking her head. I meant the sunset.
Oh, yes, that too. My 2 favorite things are right here in my living room. You and watching a Montana sunset.
And you, Mr. Aiden Quinn, are a flatterer, she retorted. He shrugged.
I only speak the truth.
He set the tray on the coffee table and poured the aromatic steaming tea into 2 cups. The scent of orange filled the air. When he handed Lily her cup and saucer, she jerked her head up. This tea set belonged to your mother.
Aiden tried not to shout a hallelujah. You remembered. That's an excellent sign. Do you think you can trust me again?
She bit her lips, lifting her eyes to his. I'm trying. If I didn't trust you, I wouldn't be up here in your cabin.
Now that's a fact.
Lily laughed, sipping her tea while she stared at him over the rim of her cup. As soon as I finish this, will you take me back to Raina's?
Of course. Just say the word.
I'm just exhausted all of a sudden.
You've had a big week, but I need to do something first.
Lily shifted on the sofa, her eyebrows going up in surprise. She hurriedly set down her cup. What are you talking about?
I have to speak the words. I need to tell you how terribly sorry I am for the accident. I will never forgive myself. The worst day of my entire life. A horror movie. My emotions have been like a terror ride on a roller coaster. A ride I can never get off of for the rest of my life. Guilt has been eating me up. I almost lost you. And it was my fault.
Aiden, it wasn't anybody's fault, Lily assured him, touching his hand empathetically. It was an accident. I've heard that moving a truckload of logs can be very dangerous. It happens, even to experienced loggers.
I want to take care of you,
he said softly.
You mean everything to me.
She reached out to place a hand against his cheek. I hold no fear or grudge against you. Aiden held her hand against his face for a moment, not wanting to let her go. Not just yet. Then he released her hand and bent to kiss her palm. That was very romantic, she whispered. Then Lily gave him a soft smile. Can I go home now? I think I need a Tylenol. Chapter 14. Lily. Several days later, there was a knock on the front door of Lily's duplex. A delivery girl from a local florist held out a package with a card. Here you go, ma'am. Lily closed the door, a tingle of anticipation running up her neck. She opened the long white box and found a single red rose with sprigs of lavender lying in a bouquet of baby's breath. "Beautiful," she breathed. Her stomach was in her throat when she tore open the card and slid out a gold leaf engraved invitation on cream-colored cardstock. "Dear Lily, will you please do me the honor of being my date for the Valentine's Day dance at the Snow Valley Community Church Hall? No response is required as I will escort you from your home at 7 p.m. on the evening of the 14th. Yours, Aiden Quinn." It was really happening. Their first official date since the accident. A jump of excitement stayed in her stomach until the following Saturday. She took the day off, her normal day off actually, and spent it getting ready. Despite the evidence of her longtime relationship with Aiden in the photos on her nightstand and another photo album she found later in the bookcase, it was like getting to know the man all over again. When Lily thought back over the past 2 weeks, the two of them had spent that afternoon at the corner Coffee Loft table plus the evening at his cabin picking up her belongings. Since then, they had spoken on the phone and texted several times, and Lily was finding Aiden to be funny, sincere, steady, and surprisingly romantic for a rough mountain man. Her attraction was growing, but her lost memory still nagged at her. This was frustrating despite the fog having mostly lifted now that it had been 2 weeks since the accident on the mountain. Studying the beautiful invitation now, Lily's nerves ratcheted up. She was thrilled, anxious, and wondered what might happen between them at the dance. She was curious to see where this unusual relationship went. When Saturday, February 14th, finally arrived, she spent the afternoon indulging in a steaming hot soak in the tub and getting ready. She took extra care with her hair and makeup and then slipped into the red dress she'd bought the previous weekend. The moment she wriggled into the gown at the woman's department store in Bozeman on her shopping spree with her mother, who was visiting at the time, Lily loved the way it looked on her. The soft satin dress had a heart-shaped neckline with a svelte and graceful cut down the length of her long legs. Gorgeous feminine lace overlaid the entire gown and a satin piece wrapped around her waist with jewels on one side. Her mother had clapped her hands in delight. "It's perfect on you, sweetheart. The perfect gown for your slim figure, and that lace is divine." Lily had grinned with delight, too. The dress made her feel like a model on a runway. When the knock came at her front door, Lily's heart leapt into her throat. He was here. She tried not to melt at the sight of Aiden, who was devastatingly handsome in a dark gray suit and red tie. He gave a low whistle, looking her up and down with a wide smile despite his chocolate brown eyes sparkling with a saucy mischief. "You, Miss Lily Wilder, are a knockout. I'm taking the most beautiful woman in Snow Valley to the Valentine's dance. I am one lucky man." "Well, thank you, sir. You don't look half bad yourself, Mr. Quinn." "Are you ready to kick up your heels, Lily?" "I guess we'll see who can outlast who on the dance floor," she said coyly. "I claim every dance," he declared. Lily just laughed as Aiden helped her into her long black dress coat. Temperatures had dropped, and the night was freezing. After dinner at Snow Valley's best steakhouse, they arrived at the church just as a line of other cars pulled in. "I think this might be more popular than the Christmas Eve program," Aiden joked as she took his arm after he helped her out of the Hummer. "The night we get to hold the women we adore." Lily suppressed a smile at his exuberance, but the compliments were sure nice to hear. "You even washed and vacuumed your SUV," she teased. "No dog hair from Bullet, at least for tonight." "Did he want to jump in the Hummer with you?" "Oh, yeah. He followed me around the house as I tried to get ready, whimpering the whole time." Lily flashed a warm grin. "Poor Bullet. Give him some extra love when you get home tonight." "That dog gets tons of attention," Aiden said, laughing. "Believe me." I loved the elegant rose and invitation you sent, Lily told him. That was especially thoughtful.
You deserve every bit of it. A small method to assuage my never-ending guilt.
Lily leaned in and took his arm, careful not to wobble too much in her new red heels. She murmured, "Please don't feel guilty any longer. I think I'm back to normal."
Except for...
Aiden hesitated, never taking his eyes off her. "It's okay to talk about it. I learned that from Dr. Mitchell, and I'm learning to live with the empty spaces in my brain. Yes, I still have missing pieces here and there, but," she added, "I'm liking you more and more every day, Mr. Quinn." He eyed her as he opened the door to the inner hall of the church, where music was already drifting out.
I do believe you're teasing me.
"Of course I am," Lily batted her eyelashes, her lips twitching. "Teasing means I'm quite fond of you."
I'll take whatever fondness I can get, my girl.
Lily laughed at his eagerness while they stepped into the hall. She gasped. "Wow, this place is decorated just like a fancy mansion." Aiden gave a low whistle.
The dance committee went all out.
Red and white lights were strung around the room, along with streamers and balloons galore. In the center, there was a space for dancing and tables with brilliant white and red tablecloths for taking a break and enjoying the refreshments. Baskets of hearts and confetti lay on each table, along with various heart-shaped candies in cut glass bowls. The dance committee lit decorative lamps and electric candles to create an ambiance. Pastel flowers floated in bowls of colored water, and the scents perfumed the air. Aiden helped Lily remove her coat, and they grinned at each other when they both reached in to snatch up a piece of the candy hearts. He chuckled.
We're acting like kids in a candy store.
Hey, when it comes to candy or any type of goodie, I am a kid.
I can attest to that. You do remember that about a week ago you were nearly in a sugar coma after wolfing down 4 donuts.
Ha! Not even close, buddy. I was in heaven. No coma involved. Besides, she added, I don't wolf down anything. I am always in control and quite ladylike. Aiden reached out and placed his warm hand over hers.
You're all woman to me. Let's dance.
Lily lifted a shoulder and looked at him from the corner of her eye. Thought you'd never ask. Despite her overwhelming desire to know what it felt like to be in Aiden's arms, Lily's stomach jumped into her throat. Her head was buzzing and her heart was beating like a hummingbird that had discovered a fresh cache of sugar water in the front porch feeder. Then she laughed at her silly thoughts.
Hey, spill it,
Aiden said softly, pulling her into his chest and wrapping one of his big hands around her waist while taking her other hand in his.
What are you laughing at?
What? His intimate presence so disconcerted Lily that she could hardly talk clearly or think coherently. Her cheek brushed against his bearded face, which had been neatly trimmed. It was much softer than she expected. Aiden's cologne was a perfect musky wooded scent, the kind Lily loved. She found herself leaning closer to him, and her stomach jumped when he pulled her even tighter. Lily tried to retrieve any coherent thoughts, but seemed to be failing. Instead, she closed her eyes as they swayed to the music, a romantic slow dance by the live band up on the stage that was usually used for Christmas skits or choral programs.
Are you okay, Lily?
Aiden said softly, his deep masculine voice close to her ear. Yes, perfectly fine. I was just thinking about, hummingbirds, how they go crazy over sugar water, and, donuts.
Of course you are, he said with a deep chuckle. I have a donut surprise for you later this evening.
She leaned back to look into his face. Seriously? For real?
I promise. Cross my heart Only the best for my lady."
"You're so thoughtful," she said, lifting her lips into a quirky smile. Aiden's laugh was deep and so masculine that Lily nearly swooned. His presence oozed brawn and muscle, all male power, but also thoughtfulness. And yes, he was a romantic. It had never occurred to her in that way before. "Where did you learn to dance so well?"
My mother. She and my father both knew how to dance without falling over or making a fool of themselves, and she taught me in the living room during my teen years. I protested and gave her a hard time, of course. That's what teenage boys do to their mothers, after all. But now, I'm glad. See all those men sitting beside their wives along the walls or at their tables? They don't know how to dance very well, so they don't even try, determined not to look like a fool. I may still be a beginner, but I'd rather have the excuse to hold you in my arms."
Lily gazed up into his face. "I think you had more than a couple of dances in the living room."
I might have taken a class or two while at the community college. It was filled with freshman girls, and they were bribing the guys to register.
"The truth comes out. It was all for the purpose of meeting girls."
The only girl that's ever mattered to me was you, sweetheart. Is you.
His eyes latched onto hers, and Lily gave a small nod. "I think I believe you. Isn't that weird?" He shook his head.
Nope, not at all.
The music stopped for the band to take a break. The hall instantly swelled with chattering guests, and trays of refreshments occupied a couple of long tables at the back of the room.
"Would you like some punch?"
Aiden asked, holding her hand in his. "I think I'd rather have ice water after all that dancing."
"Coming right up."
They spent the next hour eating hors d'oeuvres, rolled up deli meats, chips and salsa, and tiny individual cakes at a table with two other couples. But mostly they talked and joked with each other. The hall grew warmer and more crowded. Lily fanned her face. "Shall we go outside for a moment? I'm feeling a bit woozy from the heaters." A moment later, Aiden brought their coats and helped Lily into hers.
"By the way, that dress is spectacular on you. If there wasn't a crowd, I'd be doing wolf whistles all night. Have I told you that before?"
"A few times," Lily said, her lips curving into a smile. Taking her hand in his, Aiden pushed through the double-glass doors to the outdoor parking lot lined by sidewalks. A large moon was working its way over the mountains, filling the sky with silver ambient light. The air was crisp and fresh. Lily breathed in and dug her hands into her pockets.
"Here, take my gloves so you can stay warm."
"I forgot mine at home when we left. Even though it's cold, it smells so good out here. The pines and the church graveyard over there, and you," she added with a shy laugh. "And now I'm cold."
"That's my cue to keep you warm."
Lily stepped into Aiden's arms, her hands circling his waist and slipping inside his coat while he exuded heat. Her face curled into the wool scarf along his neck. "Wow, you are warm. My fingers were turning into popsicles, and now they're melting from your body heat."
"Melt away, my girl. Just don't disappear on me."
Lily refrained from stating the obvious truth about the muscles rippling along his back and shoulders. The power and strength of this man made her legs wobble. She couldn't breathe for a moment. Was she going to swoon? Swooning seemed so 19th century, but it was true. This guy, this man, was... She couldn't even describe it. All at once, Aiden's hand was on the small of her back, warm and possessive and very sexy.
"We fit perfectly," he murmured.
Lily took a small breath, and before she could say another word, Aiden's head bent toward hers, and then he was kissing her. And kissing her, as though he was waking her up from a long winter sleep. Tender and gentle, Then with more urgency, more longing, and more intensity. Lily pressed herself against him and kissed him back just as intensely. His lips tasted so good that she didn't want him to ever stop.
"Oh, Lily, I love you so much,"
he whispered against her mouth, kissing the corners, tasting her skin, then kissing her lips again. Lily's legs wobbled, so she grabbed the lapels of his coat and held on. Snowflakes began to fall from the sky, softly and silently as Aiden gathered her into his arms and pressed his warm lips to hers. All at once, something exploded inside Lily, cracking her frozen, stubborn heart like a glacier in the Arctic. Her heart melted at last. Her brain cleared, and she remembered. Aiden's kisses were the magic kiss in Sleeping Beauty, awakening her from a strange fog of sleep. Memories flooded her mind like an avalanche, images and emotions washing away the amnesia of the last few weeks. The haze and mist of confusion disappeared at last. Tears slipped from the corners of her eyes and down her cheeks. She was loved and cared for in Aiden's arms. She knew she always would be. His love was her rock. Ever so slightly, she pulled back and lifted a hand to swipe at the hot tears streaming down her face. "Oh, Aiden," she whispered.
"What, sweetheart?"
he said, his voice hoarse and worried.
"What's wrong? Why are you crying?"
"I'm crying because I know you. I know you. I know us. You and me." He stared at her in shock.
"You mean you remember me? From before? Are your memories coming back? Is the amnesia finally gone?"
"Yes, yes, and yes." Aiden kissed her again, his voice rough with emotion.
"Now can I tell you that I love you?"
"You've been kind of saying it for a couple of weeks," she teased. "But I dismissed it because I thought— Actually, I don't know what I thought, but it's like I've woken up from a dream or a nightmare."
"Why now? What's different?"
he asked slowly. She shook her head, lifting her shoulders in a helpless gesture. "You have the magic kiss. The princess has woken up from the nightmare of the Wicked Witch, and I don't want that to ever happen again."
"Hallelujah!"
Aiden yelled into the sky, picking her up and whirling her around.
"This past month about killed me. I never want to be apart from you ever again."
"Never," she agreed, laughing at his antics, fresh tears pricking at her eyes. The relief to see Aiden with new, clear eyes was the best thing that had ever happened to her. Greater than she expected, and the knowledge was making her so emotional.
"Are you ready for the best part of the night?"
he asked, taking her hand and tugging her down the street. "What are you going to do? Carry me away?"
"Sort of,"
he said with a laugh.
"I have a surprise for you. Are you up for a short walk to the next street over?"
"Sure," she said slowly, gazing at him with a sideways look. "What do you have up your sleeve?"
"Something you love more than anything else in the world. Except me, of course. Although sometimes I think you'd take a truckload over me if given the chance."
Lily swatted his arm. "Nothing is worth more than you. Not even a truckload." 15 minutes later, they stood in front of the Coffee Loft. The street was quiet under the moonlight. The windows were dark. "The coffee shop is empty," Lily said, laughing at him. "It's almost midnight after all." Aiden tugged a key from his pocket and slid it into the front door lock. "What are you doing with the Coffee Loft key?" Lily demanded, giggling at him. "Are you a new employee? Tell me your secrets." He shrugged, tugging at a lock of her blonde hair.
"It's no big secret. I just asked Angie if I could borrow her key for the evening. She trusts me, completely."
Lily squinted her eyes at him. Seems like everyone in Snow Valley loves and adores and trusts you."
"I guess I'm what you call a good guy."
Well, now I know that you're my guy, mister.
Oh, are you claiming me at last?
You'd better believe it, buddy.
I have a surprise for you.
Ooh, I love surprises.
This will knock your socks off, Lily Wilder. You might literally go into a sugar shock when you see this.
What? I'm dying of curiosity. Are we going to have a donut? The cookies at the church were a tad bit stale. Aiden opened the door wider and ushered her into the dusky coffee shop with a flourish of his arm. He switched on one of the low lights. Not the bright lights, Lily called out, lifting a hand over her eyes. It'll blind us after being in the dark for so long.
Nope, just this one, Aiden assured her. Now lower your hand from your eyes and turn around because every table in this joint has a surprise. You will notice that each table has a treat. Every single kind of donut they make. All your favorites.
That's true! They are all my favorites! I can't help it! I'm a sucker for a donut! He smiled at her shock.
Start here and work your way from table to table, until you get to the cashier.
You are crazy! Inside, Lily's heart pounded with the thrill and intrigue of what Aiden had set up for her.
I created your very own sugar high.
I'll be sick by the time I get to the last table, Lily protested, laughing so much she could hardly talk.
We'll box them up for later. You will have a donut for every meal over the next week.
She gazed around the coffee shop at the tables, noticing a plate with a doily and a donut on each one. Lily bit her lips, wondering what the trick was. What was Aiden up to? He was acting like a kid at Christmas. She walked to the first table, which had a cinnamon sugar donut. When she picked up the notes, she read them aloud. Lily Wilder, I adore you. That's not a secret, she laughed, but I love hearing it. The second table had a glazed cinnamon donut. The note read,
Lily, I love you with all my heart.
On the third table, a maple bar sat on the pretty doily.
Lily, I can't live without you.
On the fourth table, there was a glazed twist with sprinkles.
Please make me the happiest man in the world.
Lily picked up speed and ran to the fifth table, where a donut with chopped sugar pecans and chunks of chocolate sat waiting for her. The note said, Will. The sixth table held a glazed old-fashioned cake donut.
You.
The seventh table boasted a luscious Boston cream.
Marry me?
She sank to the chair, blinking in shock. Aiden sat next to her, taking her hands in his. Are you serious? She asked.
That's not the right answer, he grinned. There's one more table.
What? She bit her lips, wanting to scream with delight and hug and kiss him all night long, but a final cherry fritter was luring her on like the cherry on top of all the previous mind-blowing surprises. The final note said in big, fat letters, Say yes. Lily picked up the note. She stared at him and whispered, Is this for real? He nodded, smiling at her with amusement.
I'm more serious about you and our life together than anything else I've ever done.
He reached into his pocket and pulled out a black velvet box. Popping it open, Lily screamed when she saw a gorgeous diamond ring inside, a square stone surrounded by tiny emeralds.
Just like your beautiful eyes,
Aiden said softly. The clock in the corner of the coffee loft struck midnight and began to sound 12 strikes. The moment was so surreal and incredible that laughter bubbled out of Lily. Oh, I can't breathe. You proposing to me in the coffee loft is so funny and unreal, and yet wonderful and indescribable. Softly, Aiden said,
I've been carrying that ring around for weeks. After your accident, I was terrified that I'd lost you forever. I wanted to propose to you at the cabin, but I think the timing is even better now. We've endured a very hard thing. Fear and stress and uncertainty. And you never let me go. You never gave up, even when I was crazy and mean to you. He laughed at her words but shook his head. You weren't too mean, but I won't lie. It's been tough. I feared I'd have to let you go forever.
She moved in closer. Proposing here at the Coffee Loft is funny. And perfect. You know me very well, Mr. Quinn. I adore donuts, but I adore you even more. She held out her trembling hand, and Aiden slipped the diamond ring on her finger. The moment was surreal and oh so marvelously wonderful. The engagement ring fit perfectly. Ooh, I love it, Aiden. I love you. When should we get married?
Next week?
Lily shook her head. Oh, Aiden, you are silly. I can't put a wedding together in a week. He winked at her.
You do have a lot of friends to help.
That's true. Where should we get married?
How about right here? The first ever wedding at a Coffee Loft shop, with Pastor James presiding.
Lily climbed into his lap and wrapped her arms around his neck. Let's figure that out tomorrow. At this moment, kiss me, you fool, before I turn into a blubbering idiot.
But you haven't said yes yet, sweetheart.
Lily laughed. You're right. You got me so discombobulated. Yes, yes, yes. Tears of happiness filled her eyes all over again.
Okay, I'm convinced. And now, here's the easy part.
Aiden placed his hands on her face and pulled her closer. He kissed her lips softly and gently as if she would break.
I'll stop all your tears today and forever with my magic enchanted kisses.
The moment his warm lips were on hers, kissing her and making her swoon with delight, Lily knew that she would always have Aiden at her side, cheering her on, believing in her and their magical love, to pull her back from danger and keep her safe if she ever felt lost again. This has been Cocoa Kisses and Mountain Misses, the Coffee Loft series Mountain Brew Collection. Written by Kimberly Montpetit. Narrated by Cassie Rowland.